Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto x Rias arranged marriage part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Koa Academy can be described with an array of different words. That much is true, but the one word that encompasses what this academy was not was the simple word normal. Yes, Koa Academy was far from what regular people would call a normal school. Being an elite all-girls private school, whose recent change in administrations allowed boys to attend this all-prestigious school, Koa Academy became what many would call a paradise for men. How could it not be called a paradise? Majority of the female populace attending this most magnificent academy are beautiful without all doubt. The students' beauty ranges from above average, which by itself were not really that bad, to a level of awe-inspiring, dazzling, blinding beauty of goddess-like proportions unworthy for human eyes. Koa Academy was truly a paradise for all men, pervert and non-pervert alike. Well, at least a paradise for all but one of the few male students studying in this academy. A certain blue-eyed, whiskered, blonde-haired teen of average height yet muscular build, clad in Koa's academy black blazer over an orange shirt, which was matched by black pants and dark blue sneakers, who considered this school as hell. However, there was good reason for his madness. Actually, there was two. The first was the actual existence of the devils who reside within the school disguised as students. And the second? Well, it's too early for this shit, screamed the teen, who was running, or rather in his own words tactically retreating as fast as he could from a vast approaching army of pubescent girls who dreamed of catching him, knocking him out, dragging him into a dark room, and then raping him to no ends, or at least that's what he thinks they would do when they catch up to him. Yes, this was how he lived his daily life, all thanks to the stupid tenant of his who knew was enjoying every waking moment of this torture. Stupid fox. He swore that massive hate increased the strength of his pheromones just for shit and giggles. Although unknown to him, it was actually his ever-cheerful smile along with his kind, helpful, and upbeat nature that melts the hearts of dozens of women in his wake, much to the hate of the male populace of this school. Now, for some this would be a rather good gift to have, but to him, who was never one to have a good relationship with human women in the past, having only a few who he remotely interacted with, one of which often beat him into a state of coma, while the other was a stuttering mess every time they talked to each other, the gift was, in the words of his old friend Shikamaru, troublesome. Especially troublesome since it attracts no less than majority of the feminine population and rather happy men of Koa Academy. Yes, even the men wanted him, and that scared him to no ends. He wasn't afraid of the girls' parts, but he was rather conscious around them, often opting to minimize his reactions towards them for his and their sake, as he would not want to hurt them unintentionally. Which sadly had the opposite effect. As more pubescent girls flocked around him, some even made a fan club running dedicated to worshipping and stalking him on a daily basis. He still shudders at the thought of being likened to his old friend and rival who had to deal with this crap. If this was part of the reason he flipped his shit and gone cuckoo in the head, then he couldn't really blame the Uchiha. Damn fangirls, especially the yaoi fangirls who brought it upon themselves to pair him up with his friend and fellow blonde Kiba, who ironically wasn't anything like the Kiba of his own world. Most of the girls even went as far as giving him and his friend Kiba titles like Koa Academy's two great gentlemen, in contrast to the two great ladies composed of their senpai Rias Gemri and Akino Himejima, or much to his horror giving them Seme and Yuke titles. Kiba's love of swords and rather friendly personality didn't help at all. However, being generally optimistic, the blonde did view this constant event of running for his life in a positive light. Well, for one, it helped him work out his cardio, and another, he also attracted a horde of men who always go after him for stealing the attention of their crushes, girlfriends, and even wives, which served as good workout for him and his taijutsu. Poor bastards really thought they actually had a chance of landing a hit on him, the great super devil shinobi extraordinaire Naruto Uzumaki. Ah yeah, he was a devil, though not a pure-blooded one like a certain crimson-haired beauty tea, but rather one of the low-class newly reincarnated devils created through the evil peace system implemented by the newer generation of devils to replenish the large amount of devils lost during the previous wars against the angels and the gods of heaven, those fallen from the grace of God. And finally the devils of the underworld, but that is a story for another time. Back to Naruto, the former #1 unpredictable ninja of Konohagakure turned devil, who was still in the midst of running away from a stampeding crowd of girls. Channeling as much of his power as he could muster within the soles of his feet, the teen came to a sharp turn around the corner of a school building. With only seconds to act, the devil shinobi jumped and hid in his new-found solace and salvation behind one of the several small bushes that lines the garden part of the school's courtyard. Just in the nick of time, as several groups of girls came running past the bushes where he was lucky enough to hide. Breathing rather heavily, the teen wiped a sweat dripping from his brow. God damn it. He started ignoring the shock of pain coursing through his body, an obvious consequence and punishment for devils who dare to utter the name of God. Stupid fangirls are way worse than the umbu. Even I can outrun those guys. Seriously, screw this, I'd rather fight insane Gaara all over again than have to run through another horde of these fangirls. He carefully took a peek from behind the bush, and saw that there were no signs of any fangirls. Stealthily, the blonde exited his hiding spot. Thank God, he whispered as he once more suffered intense pain all over his body as result to muttering the name of God. Not that he minded it at all, because instead of cringing in pain or yelping in anger, the teen just smiled excitedly. Why? Because today was the day for his solo promotion exam. The day where there is a good chance of him advancing through the ranks of a low-class devil to that of a middle-class devil. Personally, he was all jittery and excited since it was like the Chunin exam all over again. Okay, now I just need to get to the clubroom. He's here! Shouted a feminine voice coming from one of my many fans, which was then followed by several Kai-ing. Shit! The blonde cursed as he made a mad dash towards one of the nearby school buildings as the sun continuously shined down upon him. Normally he would be glad to bask in the sun's glory, but stupid devil handicaps caused the light to weaken him to a certain extent. Truth be told, he could easily outrun this group of rabid fangirls if not for the small training weights strapped all over his body, and by small training weights he meant several magical weights that weighed no less than several tons on each of his limb and chest, because he really just had to piss off Sato-chan with one of his inconsiderate babbling when they were working on his body weights. Damn girl was more sadistic than that ankle woman she met back in the Chunin exams. Oh, and add to the fact that his beautiful king has banned him from using his chakra on school grounds because of his hobby of randomly pranking people. Especially those three pervs who reminded him of the Ero Sennin. Not that he hated that three, because like them he too admires the female body, not just to the unhealthy extent that those three show. He could still remember when he stole a bunch of women's underwear and pinned the blame of those three perverts who were caught red-handed with the stash of those lacy garments. Ha ha ha, good times. Now that he thought about it, this trouble with women of all ages may be a form of retribution or karma from his earlier pranks in both this world and the past. Nah, impossible. It's not like some kind of God-insert severe shock of pain that almost made him miss a step and fall prey unto his fans would purposely mess with his life for shit and giggles. The blonde chuckled nervously as he ran inside the school building, plowing his way through several other students who had varying reaction to his presence. The girls were squealing as usual, the guys were glaring at him with intense hatred. Only a select few people, mainly devils hidden in the crowd, gave him a happy nod of acknowledgement accompanied by a kind smile. He ran through the hallways with all his might, evading his rabid fans while giving a wink towards a relatively petite and silent girl with white hair and hazel eyes who was munching on a donut. Ohio Nico-chan. The girl was kind enough to stop mid-bite and nod towards his direction. Ohio Naruto-senpai was the girl's quiet reply as Naruto ran past her, giving her a short rub on her hair before running towards the nearby staircase. Thanks for the training last night, I'll see you later, okay? I'll treat you to ramen if I pass. Exclaimed the ever-grinning blonde as he ran up the flight of stairs, leaving behind a small dust cloud on his wake. I'd like that, the girl replied before returning her attention to her snack. What did he mean training last night? Did that bastard just wink on Kaneko-chan? What did he mean see you later? A date? Did he ask her for a date? He called her Nico-chan. Kill that bastard. After him. God damn it! Shouted Naruto, who again was shocked for saying the name of God as he looked behind him too and saw that aside from his fangirls, several men, specifically the undying members of the KKK or Kito Kito Kaneko, a fan club dedicated to the school's #1 mascot Kaneko Tuju, who viewed him as the #1 treat to their beloved's chastity. This momentary distraction caused a rather unusual blunder, as the blonde ninja mistakenly bumped on and fell on top another person who was trying to walk down the stairs. Quickly getting out of his momentary daze, the blonde came upon the realization of who he just bumped and what particular soft part of her anatomy he found his left hand pressed up against. Squeeze. His face immediately went pale and lost all of its color. He was on top of no other than one of the two great ladies of Ko Academy. The one and only buxom long black-haired beauty and closet sadist Akino Himejima. Well shit. Era, how bold of you. To try and attack a pure and innocent maiden in broad daylight, Erokitsune, she said with her usual elegant and gentle tone, but her deep violet eyes said differently as they showed a hint of amusement behind them. What could she be amused at? How the bastard is taking advantage of Akino-senpai. Pry off his balls. Kill him. Ah. That was the wrath of her fan club. The AI Akino, who viewed him as their main enemy, were now also burning with a deep, passionate hatred to maim him for publicly assaulting and groping their goddess. Yep, they'll probably join the mob going after him. In a flash of speed that would have made even his late father blink, the Jinchuriki quickly separated from his bombshell of a senpai. You're loving this, aren't you? He asked as he extended his hand towards her and quickly helped her up. Yep. She admitted, letting out a small giggle as she observed the mob closing the distance between themselves and the blonde. But are you sure you have the time to be running around here? Isn't there a more important place you should be right now? The shinobi chuckled as he scratched the back of his head in a rather goofy manner. I know, but you know how I'm a magnet for trouble even when I'm trying my best to avoid it, he said while helping his king's queen up. I'll see you later, okay? Yes, I'll see you later, Ero-kitsune. Yeah, yes, see you later, Sato-chan, quipped the blonde in an offhanded way as he ducked down to avoid a dictionary thrown at him by one of the men in the huge mob. Your aim sucks. Aim better next time, Databeo, he shouted before shooting past the rather amused-looking Akino, running up a flight of stairs with renewed vigor. Kaya Naruto-sama is so cool and awesome. Kill him, shouted the male populace as they started pelting the now laughing blonde who kept running away from the mob. They really had no chance catching up to him. He was already used to being chased by mobs who were definitely a few notches superior to this bunch. Before he could reach the last flight of stairs leading to the rooftop, the blonde's ears picked up a familiar-sounding voice of his only male friend within the academy. Ohio, Naruto-san. Tilting his head to the direction of the voice, he saw his fellow blonde and second-year student Kiba Yuto. Ohio, Kiba. Naruto returned the greeting with a quick wave. Sorry man, but as much as I want to talk to you, I'm busy? Yeah, let's go with that, busy. Running away from a mob of both girls and guys again? You know me. A light bulb appeared on top of his head. Ano, Kiba, can you help me by getting the attention of the girls? Nope, that wouldn't be nice for them, Naruto-san, kindly replied Yuto with his bishy sparkle and all. Oh come on man, take off your shirt or something. Make them join your fan club and not mine please, I'll even treat you to ramen, Databeo. Kiba tilted his head to the side in a confused way. Era, I have a fan club? Yes, you damned Casanova, Naruto jokingly shouted as he went by Kiba, turning towards the last flight of stairs leading to the rooftop. Kiba chuckled as he waved at the running blonde. Haha, I guess I'll see you later. I wish you luck on your exam, Naruto-san. Thanks man, was Naruto's simple reply as he gave a small wave back at Kiba, before stopping and forcefully kicking open the normally locked door leading to the school's rooftop. Kaya, Naruto-sama. Kaya, did he just talk to Kiba-sama? Kya Narukiba Kya. I'm fucking not gay, shouted the whiskered devil who ran towards the rooftop, stopping only in front of the steel railings placed around the roof for the sake of protecting students from falling over and most likely suffering a terrible death. We've got him cornered, shouted several voices from the crowd, which were only a few feet away from catching their prey. The very same prey who smirked as he suddenly climbed on top of the steel railings, balancing himself as he turned towards the crowd. This is the day you people will always remember as the day you almost caught Naruto Uzumaki. He boasted out, much to the disbelief of the crowd who believed him to be helpless and cornered. He wouldn't. A certain brown-haired pervert amidst the great crowd muttered out as he realized what the blonde teen was planning. He's not really going to jump, right? He jumped. There was a moment of absolute silence as all present in the rooftop desperately processed what just happened. One of the school's heartthrobs just jumped off the rooftop, possibly killing himself. Hoo-hoo. Hell yeah. Databeo. Or not. Rushing to the school railings, the mob looked down and saw the relatively unharmed and laughing form of Naruto Uzumaki, who was standing in the middle of the school's clearing. It was like he didn't even jump from 5 stories high above the schools. Smiling, the blonde devil turned towards the school rooftop where the groups who were running after him stood dumbfounded with their jaws dropped over the audacity of his actions. That was a good run, but try better next time, okay? He shouted while waving his hand at them before spinning around and running towards his original destination. To anyone else, that entire ordeal could have been described as pure and utter insanity and chaos, but to him, to Naruto Uzumaki, it was nothing but a daily event he had to live with. Truth be told, he'd rather have days like this one and not the ones he experienced as a kid back in his old home of Konoha. He chuckled. Gone were the days of him shouting about promising himself to become the village's Hokage so that he could gain the acknowledgement of his village. Those days were replaced with happy times of hanging around with his new peers who have already acknowledged him for his worth and care little about the demon that he carries. Why should they be alarmed? They were devils after all. It was ironic that the people who he can actually call friends, and not of the type that would cruelly mock him, physically hurt him, or suddenly betray him were, and again his life really has gone through a drastic change because of her. Yes, all because of her. A soft smile made its way to his face as he ran towards the old schoolhouse, slowly reminiscing of his first day in this world along with the events that led to his faithful meeting with his king. A pledge to my king. Flashback. Panic-stricken blue eyes flashed open as Naruto regained consciousness and began to perceive the world around him. A fresh of breath air went into his systems, giving him just enough to wheeze and cough out loudly. He took a deep breath, greedily welcoming the object his body so desperately needed. What in God's name hit me? The blonde slowly rose from where he lay, only to fall as quickly as he rose. He clutched his head as a wave of intense vertigo coursed through his mind, threatening to split and smash its content into pieces. It was the most intense feeling of pain that he has ever felt in his whole life. He screamed in pain before passing out. He eventually regained consciousness once more. This time he did not feel the great pain which previously assailed him, enabling the blonde shinobi to get up from the bed. He did not know where he was, but he was inside a bedroom to be exact, and the most lavish-looking room he has seen in his entire life, despite it looking considerably a tad bit too girlish for his taste. And what the heck were all those posters around the room with the words anime and magical girls written on them? He shook his head. Where the heck am I? He mumbled to himself as he looked around and observed the great purple sky, which showed no hint of being either night or day from outside the rather large window on the opposite side of his bed. As far as he was concerned, the sky was never that dark. The blonde-haired 12-year-old boy placed his hands upon his temples and started rubbing them. Okay, think Naruto, think what the hell happened. He closed his eyes. All he could remember was that he was on a mission to retrieve Sasuke, who he had to fight. The fight itself was a blur to his mind, but he could remember that he and his friend exchanged their strongest attack, meeting head-on before he was enveloped in a large cocoon of pure black miasma that brought him to a place of nothingness, an endless void where in every direction was a mix of iridescent colors. Yeah, it was like he was looked through an infinite kaleidoscope. Oh good, you're awake. Turning his head towards the direction of the voice, the young Uzumaki's felt his jaw slacken. With his cerulean blue eyes wide as plates, he gazed upon the prettiest girl he has seen in his entire life. She looked to be around his age, maybe a year older, with clad in a crimson-colored dress that showed off a bit off her developing curves and assets. Yes, a beautiful crimson-colored dress matched only by the object that entranced him to no ends. Her long hair. It was a shade of beautiful crimson, much like blood, freely flowing down, stopping around her waist. Loose, beautiful crimson strands covered her forehead, and a few strands framed her rather angelic face. Sakura had nothing on this girl. Her blue-green eyes met his cerulean orbs as the two remained silent for a moment. An ephemeral silence that was soon broken by the crimson-haired beauty. Are you okay? I'm well, damn, for the first time in his life he was speechless. The string of words that formed inside his mind couldn't even come out in a string of coherent words. She was that beautiful to his eyes. Realizing that speaking was rather futile, the blonde did what he thought was best to answer her question by simply nodding his head. That's good. She nodded proudly, her hands folded underneath her developing assets, pushing them upwards and making them stand out even more before puffing her chest out. If she was paying close attention to the blonde, then she would have definitely picked up on the massive blush on his face that almost matched the color of her hair. You know, it was really shocking when you just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. My friend here says you literally fell from the sky. Friend? Naruto thought as he finally managed to snap out of his self-induced trance. It was only then that he noticed another presence inside the room. Hiding shyly behind the crimsonette was a very petite white-haired girl who was most likely a few years younger than him. She was wearing a light blue dress that matched her hair, which had two long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead. Oh, and she had two cat ears. He actually blinked a few times to make sure that he wasn't just seeing things, but after a few more blinks he indeed spotted two cat ears on the petite girl's head. Pointing at the girl behind the crimson-haired beauty, the blonde without any tact asked, "Are those cat ears?" The white-haired girl hid farther behind the crimsonette. "Yeah, you see, Kaneko-chan here is a yukai." Huh. Naruto mumbled out as he nodded dumbly. And by yukai you mean? Supernatural monsters often associated with Asian culture. Naruto had an unintelligible expression plastered on his face as his mind worked overdrive. Admittedly, he was far from being the brightest among the shinobi of Konoha, but he was smart enough to come up with a few conclusions on his own. 1. Based on those twitching cat-like ears that by no means were fake, the petite girl behind the beautiful crimsonette was really a yokai, a demon much like the one stuck right in his belly. 2. If she was yokai, then there was a good chance that the crimson-haired girl was also a yokai or demon of some kind. 3. He was nowhere in hell near Konoha. 4. He was really starving and could use some ramen. 5. They were demons. He was stuck in a room with 2 demons. Having no idea how to react in this situation, the blonde resulted into just laughing it off, hoping that he was wrong. But then again, curiosity killed the cat, or if he screw up the fox. Then if she's a yokai, what would that make you? A devil or something? Oh, how perceptive. The shinobi froze. How did you know I was a devil? She asked as 2 bat-like wings shot out of her back. Naruto chuckled dryly, several drops of sweat already forming in his forehead. Lucky guess? Okay, but that's really strange. Why would you ask about yokai? I thought you'd be familiar with yokai since you felt like one when I first met you. Even though that's the reason Kaneko-chan brought you to me, said the beautiful devil as she gestured towards her still hiding companion. Sorry, but I'm not a yokai. I'm 100% human. And 100% badass to Bayo. He lied. He knew for a fact that he wasn't fully human because of his tenant. The crimson-haired beauty blinked to Bayo. That's strange. It's not often that I hear word whose meaning I can't decipher with my language ability. She looked at the blonde with pure curiosity. What does that mean? It's nothing, just a verbal tic. Okay, the beautiful girl nodded, seemingly content with his short explanation. Now I need you to listen to me. You told me you are human, right? And proud of it. Then I know this might be shocking for you, but I want you to calm down and listen to me. She gave the blonde a kind and honest smile as she muttered her next words. You are no longer human. Naruto blinked again, not once, not twice, but several times as his brain desperately tried to process the words that came out of the girl's pretty lips. Not knowing how to react properly to this situation, the blonde found that the only reasonable response to her words was a simple, "What was that?" Maybe you didn't hear me the first time. I said you are no longer human. I reincarnated you shortly after you died. The blonde's eyes widened as he shot out of his bed. No, I heard you clearly the first time, but what the hell do you mean I'm not a human anymore? Hell, what do you mean when you said I died? You died and I turned you into a devil. Ha, that's really funny. You mean to tell me that I'm a devil? What's next? Are you going to tell me we're in hell? Actually, yes, we're in hell, specifically the Gremory estate. Naruto looked straight at the beautiful crimsonette, doing his best to try to look underneath and see if there was any possible lies in her words. Am I a devil? Yes. He could find no lies in her words. If you want proof, you can look behind you. Naruto simply did as he was told. Looking behind him, he found a pair of jet black bat-like wings sticking out his back. Black wings just like hers. She admitted she was a devil. Now he too was a devil. He would always remember that moment where he felt his entire world stop, allowing him a few seconds of inner peace before he experienced a sudden backlash of emotions brought about by old, repressed memories assaulted him to no ends. He was still young, crying as he was surrounded by a crowd of adults. You killed my children! One shouted as a rock was thrown at his face. Demon brat! Yelled another as he kicked the young boy. You monster! Added one more as a kunai was stabbed in his arm. Die! 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 They shouted over and over as they inflicted unimaginable pain upon his young body. They all wished for his death because they thought he was a monster. And now he was a devil. A monster. A demon. A fiend. An abomination. He was no longer human. And that scared him to no ends. Hey, what's wrong? You're hyperventilating. Despite her rather worried tone, he didn't bother giving her a response. Instead, he distanced himself from the two girls and then crashed and jumped out the nearest window. Line break. He didn't know how long he ran, nor did have any idea which direction he went, or the amount of distance he traveled. All he knew was that he just kept running. Yes, it was a rather cowardly act, but for Naruto Uzumaki, who was in what many would consider a mid or rather early life crisis, it was a normal and acceptable course of action. He was running for many reasons. He was running because he was lamenting his new fate as devil. He was running because he was confused. He was running because he was afraid. But most of all, he was running because he felt an intense amount of regret over what has happened. Naruto felt the very earth beneath his feet tear up, creating small trenches as he forced himself to come to an abrupt stop. Opening his eyes, he found himself in an abandoned clearing in the middle of what looked like a forest made of crimson-red trees. What the hell? He cursed out, a one-tailed crimson-red shroud forming around him as he lashed out on the very first object he could find, an unlucky tree who had the pleasure of getting a first taste of his newly acquired demonic strength. The tree shattered upon meeting his fist. He died before he could become Hokage. Naruto turned to another nearby tree and kicked it in half. He broke his promise to Sakura. The shinobi twirled around and punched another tree, uprooting the tree with the sheer force of his fist. He couldn't rescue Sasuke. In a burst of speed, he grabbed the uprooted tree and used it as a club to mow several nearby trees. He couldn't protect his bonds. The blonde tossed the tree away before extending his left hand outwards as a small sphere of pure compressed power formed around the palm of his very hand. In frustration, the boy turned to the ground and smashed the orb, causing pure and unadulterated destruction upon his wake. The wind blew rather harshly, along with a sizable shockwave which blasted all over him. There was a sound of an explosion that could be heard miles away as a crater that formed upon the forest ground. A spherical crater that marked his agony. He failed. Failed to protect his precious people, and as if a cruel punishment for his failure, he was turned into a devil, a monster. The cloak of malicious power receded from his body. God damn it! Naruto yelled out to the heavens. Arg! He shouted in pain as he failed to brace himself from the sudden influx of sharp and searing pain coursing through his whole body. A pain so intense that it forced that usually ever-vigilant shinobi down on his knees. What the hell? He coughed out as the backlash of the unknown torture kept flooding his body. Devils are not allowed to invoke the biblical Lord's name, came a voice from the high above Naruto. Cringing in pain, he looked up and found the very same crimson-haired girl who both saved and damned him flying high above him with her batish-like wings. The moment his holy name escaped from your very lips, you will be punished by his grace. Although it usually comes in the form of headaches and pain, this is the first time I've seen such a severe backlash. She dropped to the ground, wings retracting as she knelt beside him, placing her hand over the small of his back. He was coughing, heaving out loudly as his tan skin was still pale from the intense experience. Are you okay? Asked the rather worried-looking devil. Okay? Naruto forced himself up despite his body's protests. Okay? He pushed her hand away before looking at her with a hate-filled glare. I died and became a frigging devil, he shouted, causing the devil to take a few steps back. Of course I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine with not being human anymore. I'm fine being stuck here in hell. I'm fine that I'm a demon. A monster. He spat out before placing a hand on top of his chest as his breathing became erratic. He bit down on his lips, drawing blood so that he may force the tears to not flow out of his eyes, not wanting the devil to have the satisfaction of seeing him crying. I didn't ask to be turned into a devil. I'm human. I wanted to be human. To live as a human. To die as a human. I never wanted to become a demon. There was a look of extreme shock and confusion on the female devil's face. She was not expecting such a reaction from the blonde, since from what she heard most people would have been happy and honored to become reincarnated as a devil. Much less to become a devil in servitude to one of the noble families belonging to the 72 Pillars. Clearly there was something special about this boy. The girl took in a deep breath as she replied to still seething Shinobi. Actually, you did. When Kaneko-chan brought your body to me, you told me mere seconds before you died that you wanted to live no matter what. Then one thing led to another, and before I even knew it, the special evil piece my Oni-san gave to me began reacting towards you. You told me you really wanted to live, and that's why I used that piece and turned you to a devil. She exhaled. Can you please come here? She extended her hand towards him, a look of worry in her face. Let's go back to the castle, okay? We can talk there since it's not safe here. No! You should have just let me die. But she tried to reply, but the unstable boy quickly cut her off. Leave me alone! Roared the blonde before he quickly ran full speed away from the girl. Wait! Two bat-like wings sprouted out of her back as she quickly flew after the newly reincarnated devil. Line break. He was running, accelerating, turning, zigzagging, and jumping through each and every obstacle within the forest of crimson-red trees. Unlike before, this time he put his all into his strides, hoping to avoid or escape his pursuer, a certain crimson-haired princess responsible of turning him into a devil. Deep down inside he knew that he was wrong. He was never the one to run away from his problems or to lash out on others. He knew he was better than that, and if her word were true that he actually begged her to live, then he had no right to condemn her for her actions. Despite wanting to think of the matter at hand, Naruto was forced to abandon his thought as he came to an abrupt stop. He wasn't tired or anything like that, but rather there was an abnormal presence in the air that drew his attention. He looked around, blue eyes observing every nook and cranny of the forest, determined to find the source of the feeling that caused the pressure in the air to thicken in a sickening extent. It was feeling that already had the pleasure of experiencing in the past, but unlike those times, this feeling chilled his spine to no ends due to its increased potency. Killing intent. One that was much, much worse than what he felt around Zabuza and Orochimaru. There was a barely audible sound of something sneaking around him, hidden by the vast foliage of crimson-red trees. Then there was a roar, a mad and almost deafening roar that had the shinobi's body moving in overdrive. Swoosh. He crouched before rolling forward, a forceful shifting in the air blowing his back and pushing him away alerted him of the creature's presence behind him. As he rolled forward, the boy took a quick peek behind him to see whatever creature it was that dared to attack him. It was a tiger, or at least part of it. Specifically, the legs were that of a tiger, since its head was that of a monkey, its body a tanuki's, and had a snake for a tail. Talk about the offspring of an unholy orgy between those animals. Damn, you're ugly, whispered the blonde, only to soon regret those words as the creature, as if understanding him, lunged at him. Not being one to back down to any challenges that presented themselves to him, the shinobi of Konoha reached for his kunai pouch so that he may at least have a weapon that he could use to defend himself. However, much to his horror, it was only then that he noticed that he was not wearing his normal shinobi clothes, but rather he was wearing what looked like a pair of white pajamas, which were slightly smudged and dirted by both his run through the forest and his roll towards the ground. Ah shit. Shifting his center of gravity, the whiskered shinobi barely had the time to avoid a deadly swipe from the creature's claws. He then found himself running, rolling, and jumping away in order to dodge several more deadly attacks from the ferocious beast. I seriously need to practice kawarimi, substitution, if I survive this. The blonde channeled chakra to the soles of his feet before jumping towards the nearest tree in order to get away from the beast. Imagine to his surprise that the entire bark of the tree exploded into hundreds of tiny splinters upon contact, sending him shooting towards the beast. However, in a stroke of luck, Naruto was sent flying towards the creature while it was in mid-leap, allowing him to twist his body the last moment so that his left elbow faced the creature's chest. Boom. The creature was sent staggering back as a result of all the built-up momentum of Naruto's elbow smashing violently upon its chest. Clearly shaken up, Naruto decided to take advantage of the beast's obvious opening by quickly extending his hand toward the ground. The forest floor cracked as the blonde was able to push himself up and over the beast, landing a several dozen feet behind it. What the hell? He was just expecting to propel himself with one hand so he could kick the monkey tiger thingy on its face, not push himself so far away behind it. That was way too strong. His eyes widened as he looked at the very hand he used to propel himself. He repeatedly closed and opened the palm of his hand. He definitely felt that he was stronger. Slightly bending his knees, the boy kicked off the ground, creating a sonic boom accompanied by a foot-sized crater upon the earth as he charged towards the beast. 3 seconds away, he cocked his fist back. 2 seconds away, the beast turned towards him. A second away, he threw his punch. Impact. His fist smashed against the beast's face, sending it flying almost a kilometer back. Naruto stared at his smoking fist, his jaw dropped as far as it could. Damn, that punch was as strong as the ones Bachan used on the Erosenin. The blonde quickly pumped the fist he used to smack the creature. That was so freaking awesome to Bayo. Since when the heck was I as strong as Bachan? Wait, was this a side effect of him becoming a devil? Monstrous strength on par with a Sannin? Roar! The creature cried out, grabbing his attention. From afar he could see the rough outline of the beast as it started running towards him. Steam and drool slowly seeped through its fanged mouth while it continued to glare at him rather hatefully. Not that he was intimidated with his newfound strength, he was confident that he could actually beat this freak of nature. Bring it on to Bayo! He yelled, keeping his eyes on the beast, which suddenly stopped its charge about halfway towards the shinobi. The beast then opened its mouth and fired a jet-black beam of pure darkness right at the blonde. Thankfully the creature had bad aim as the beam of darkness missed the shinobi by a rather large margin. Boom! Naruto turned around and saw that a good portion of the forest behind him was now replaced by a gigantic desolate trench courtesy of the creature's beam. Confidence shattered. That was rather bad. I guess that's what I get from trying to fire off a menacing beam when I have a hangover. A deep baritone voice came from the beast. Naruto's head mechanically turned towards the creature. You can talk. The creature rolled its eyes. Of course. Were you thinking that a new such as I was not able to communicate with others? How stupid of you, the standards for devils really have fallen so low. A tick mark appeared on his head. Oh, who are you calling stupid? Why, of course you, or are you even stupid enough to figure that on your own? The creature purred while its tail hissed ever so menacingly. Now would you please stop making this harder for yourself and let me kill you? I really am famished. You make it sound that you're planning on eating me, team. That's the plan. The Nu came charging towards the shinobi, a small blacking sphere forming around its open mouth. Like hell I'm going to hit by that. The shinobi from Konoha ran towards the beast's side, purposely avoiding the path of its mouth so that he will not get hit by that beam. Boom. A concentrated beam shot out of the creature's mouth, however, unlike the last beam, this one did not immediately disappear after it was fired, but rather the beam followed the shinobi. Try to avoid that, you lowly devil. Let's try this, whispered Naruto as he crossed the middle and index fingers of both his hands, creating a cross-like hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique, he yelled out as no less than 15 exact copies of the blonde shinobi appeared beside in a puff of smoke, despite him only wishing for 2 of them to appear. Gee, my control is even worse. He complained as 2 clones grabbed him by his arms and tossed him towards a nearby tree, far away from the beam's path. The remaining clones, however, were unlucky as they were quickly dispelled by the attack, filling the entire area in smoke. Landing on a branch of the tree, Naruto quickly used Kage Bunshin again, creating 9 clones to his side. No words were needed to be exchanged as all of them jumped from the tree and came running towards the beast inside the smoke screen. What trickery is this? Roared the great Nu as it saw several copies of the blonde running towards it. The Nu swiped its claw, dispelling 2 clones that tried to punch it. It was kicked rather forcefully. The beast whipped its tail, smashing against the clone who kicked it. It was pummeled from 2 sides by 2 separate blondes. Roaring, it spun its body around, smashing its entire frame on the 2 blondes, which poofed, revealing themselves to be clones. A knee smashed to its face. The creature bit down on the knee, causing yet another clone to dispel. It was kicked in its belly by one of the blondes, while the other jumped in the air and landed an axe kick right on its head. Enough games! The beast yelled out before it roared, feeling rather impatient, and in no mood for the blonde's antics. A severe and massive roar that created a shockwave which easily dispelled the 2 clones, revealing the location of the real Naruto Uzumaki. Get over here! Shouted the Nu as its snake tail suddenly lashed out into the smoke, biting the real Naruto, who was observing the situation from the back by the shoulder. Aergragath! The Uzumaki shouted in pain as he clutched reptilian tail, who had its fangs deeply planted in the meat of his shoulder. You cannot escape. Now perish so I may sate my hunger with your corpse. Whatever the Nu planned to say died on its mouth as the one and only Naruto Uzumaki once again lived up to his title of Konoha's #1 unpredictable shinobi. He bit down on the beast's tail. Aergrg! The creature yelled out in pain as it quickly released its tail's hold over the blonde's shoulder. Naruto quickly jumped back, distancing himself from the beast before groaning rather painfully, and placing his hand over his shoulder. Ugh, hi, you fucking bit my shoulder. You fucking bit my tail. Well, yeah, you bit my shoulder. You bit my tail. Well, fuck you. Whatever the hell you're supposed to be. Nu! I'm a new you stupid devil. Yeah, well, at least I don't look like the offspring of an interspecies orgy team. I will murder you. I'd like to see you a vertigo wave through the shinobi's system. His vision became blurry, his body got heavy, making it increasingly difficult to remain standing. Try. He finished as his legs finally gave in, causing him to crumble down on one knee. What the hell did you do? The new smirk that was faster than expected. The blonde's eyes widened in realization. Poison? Close, but it's not poison. Those of my kin are known to bring forth illness and misfortune in our wake. That is but one of the many illnesses, or as others prefer to call it, curses that I have in my body. A simple paralyzing ailment that affects even the strongest of devils. Naruto inwardly cursed as he tried his best yet failed to move from his position. The creature slowly stalked towards the blonde, drool already spilling out of its mouth. It was fun while it lasted, devil. The beast raised one of its claws up and brought it down, all intent of ending the blonde's life. Only for the blow to miss its intended target as the shinobi was tackled away. It happened so fast that even Naruto found it hard to comprehend what happened. Mere seconds before he was about to die, she came diving down from the sky, tackling him away. She saved his life. Are you okay? He looked on the crimson-haired beauty who was lying on top of him. He would have blushed at the sudden closeness if not for him spotting the pained expression in her face that she was trying hard to hide. I'm fine. The shinobi managed to mumble out. Good, she said rather weakly. Hey, are you okay? He asked, only for his eyes to widen in surprise as his nose picked up on an ever-familiar scent. The smell of iron. The very same metallic smell which was coming from 3 bleeding gashes on her sides. With the best of his remaining strength, which was inhibited by the curse, the blonde carefully slipped out under her, making sure to be as gentle as possible. Are you okay? He asked, panic evident in his tone. She nodded weakly as she continuously bled out. Having little to no knowledge about first aid, the blonde tried to do as his instincts told him. He ripped the sleeve of his shirt and immediately placed it upon the large gashes in hopes to stop the bleeding. Stupid girl, why did you save me? The girl smiled as she continued trying her best to hide the great pain that dawned upon her. Because that's the job of a king. It's a king's role to protect the members of her peerage. But truthfully, I guess it was because of my mistake for carelessly reviving you. I saw how sad you were, how angry you were. I'm really sorry. Hey, don't apologize. It was my fault. I lashed out at you. So please just hang on. Don't die. He looked over her wound, desperately racking his mind for any possible way he could help her. Damn it, we just met. Why would you do that? Hell, I don't even know your name or anything about you. The girl chuckled weakly. My name is Rias Gremory, a pure-blooded devil from the house of Gremory. I like chess, my family, and the members of my peerage. I don't particularly dislike anything, she stutters, slightly cringing as the pain finally got to overbearing for her, causing her to lose consciousness. Rias! No! Wake up, Rias! The blonde gently shook his body while cradling her within his arms. This was the second time in his life that he cradled someone in his arms. In his mind there flashed another similar memory, a scene of another girl with a large wound upon her chest, laying within his arms as her life faded away. Wahahaha, this must be my lucky day. A pure-blooded demon from one of the 72 pillars? Today shall be a day to remember. A feast beyond what I could have even imagined. The new who Naruto has nearly forgotten roared out as it slowly walked towards Rias. Since I'm in a good mood, let me cut you a deal, brat. I'll let you leave here if you leave her body in your place. Hell, I'll even remove the curse I placed on you. The creature tried to bargain, only for its words to fall on deaf ears. Naruto didn't honor the new with a response. Instead, he just stood up through sheer willpower despite of the curse's effect and got in between the creature and the downfall of the girl, while his spiky hair shadowed over his cerulean blue eyes. So you're going to get in my way? Good. I wasn't planning on letting you go anyways. Bwahahaha, entertain me, you lowly devil. Give me the excitement of hunting you down before I devour you for all you're worth. The creature gloated, not noticing the sudden influx in power around the still silent blonde. Wisps of vile red rose from his body, enveloping him in a warm blood-red 3-tailed fox-like cloak of pure malice and power. The whisker-like marks on his cheeks grew darker, his canines grew longer, his 2 jet-black wings shot out from his back, extending longer and menacingly than before, giving the blonde appearance akin to that of a devil. A true devil. It was the creature's turn to have its confidence shatter into hundreds of pieces as it felt the immense power radiating from the shinobi. The color quickly drained from its face as it felt every fiber of its being yelling at it to run away and get as far away as possible from its earlier prey. What are you? It muttered out in fear as it took a step. The devilish form of the shinobi extended his left hand to his side, palm facing the heavens. What are you? It asked again, unconsciously distancing itself towards the blonde. A vermilion sphere of pure power formed within his hand. What are you? It screamed out. Your death. In a burst of speed, the blonde disappeared from the news vision. Shui Rasengan, Vermilion Rasengan. The beast didn't even had the chance to realize what was happening until the vermilion sphere was smashed against its head, pushing its monkey-like face down towards the ground. Crash. The beast's entire body soon followed its head as its entire body violently smashed against the ground. Grind. Its head was pushed further down to the ground, the sphere of power grinding into its head, causing great damage, which forced the ground underneath to give in to the attack's power, forming a crater. Boom. Smoke covered the entire area as the sphere exploded upon the news head. Blackish blood and gore flew all over the small crater in the aftermath of the complete obliteration of its head. The Nu was dead, that much was obvious. With its death, the fox-like cloak surrounding the blonde soon vanished. He felt extremely tired, his muscles were sore, his vision was still woozy, all his remaining vigor was drained away after his attack. His body was screaming at him, demanding him to lay down and rest, but he knew there was no time for that. He cringed, pain and exhaustion assailing his body with each step he took as he left the crater in which the headless body of the Nu laid. It took all of his power to walk, approaching the only other being in the forest aside from him. The crimson-haired girl laying silently on the ground. This is going to hurt like hell. He knelt down as he got close enough to the girl. Arms extended, he scooped the unconscious girl from the ground, cradling her in his hold. Arag, he shouted as he forced his knees up, ignoring the burning pain he felt. He started walking. He didn't know how long he walked. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know how the amount of distance he traveled. All he knew was that he kept walking. He walked for only one reason: to find someone who could save the girl in his arms. He walked until his world turned black. Line break. He woke up. Although his head was a bit wheezy, the blonde's eyes were able to make out the now familiar sight of the bedroom where he first woke up since he arrived in this world. Ughai Naruto groaned as he placed his right hand on his head. What happened? The last thing he remembered was carrying the wounded girl in his arms. Wait, girl? Rias! He tried to pull himself out of that bed. Emphasis on try, since the entire left side of his body objected to his simple commands, forcing him to remain plastered down on the bed. Susui, he heard a rather cute and sweet voice. He looked next to him and found that the beautiful crimson-haired devil was sleeping beside him and using him as a pillow. His left arm was resting between her bikup basam, his left hand was in between her thighs. Oh, and she was stark naked, giving him a luxurious view of her smooth skin and glorious body from her small hops, her long white legs, her thighs, and even her nicely shaped butt. It took all his willpower not to pass out again from excessive blood loss coming out of his nose. He then realized that he too was naked as the day he was born. The blood kept pouring out. Su. Okay, what happened? Why was he in bed naked with this girl? Wait, was he a man now? Did he have sex with this beautiful devil? Think, Naruto, think. He kept walking down the forest path. His vision was wavering, his body in pain, yet he kept walking until he reached the castle. Any memories past that point were really mushy and blurry. She hugged him tighter, causing his face to turn into an even darker shade of red. Rias? Is it morning already? Rias started wiping her eyes in a rather adorable manner with one hand. Did I wake you up? The girl mumbled out before her eyes quickly opened widely, her head turning towards him. She released hold of his body. You're awake? I thought you'd never wake up. You make it sound like I've slept for days. You've been sleeping for 4 days. It's been that long? Yes, everyone was worried about you. Everyone? Me and Kaneko-chan. Sorry for worrying you. He asked, feeling guilty that he needlessly worried someone. How did we survive? A small blush appeared on the devil's face. Well, Grafia told me that you managed to carry me back to the estate where she healed both of us. Graphia? She's Oni-Isama's wife. Oh, and Oni-Isama was slightly mad about what happened, so you better watch out if you meet him. Slightly mad was the understatement of the century, as the elder Gremory blew up a large portion of the crimson-colored forest, while promising to himself to make a certain blonde shinobi's life a living hell. Rias. Hi. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. I already told you that it was my fault. No, it's not your fault. You were just following my wish. It's just that I had a hard time growing up. He felt no need to lie to her. For a person he just met, he really felt so at ease around her presence. You see, you were half right when you thought I was a yokai. Then you're really a yokai like Kaneko-chan? He shook his head. The thing, when I was born a nine-tailed demon fox, the Kyubi no Yoko attacked my village. I've heard of kitsunes from Oni-Isama. I heard that they are really strong, some even on par with ultimate-class devils. Yeah, from what the stories told, with but a swing of its tails it made mountains crumble, and caused tsunamis with its mere presence. Hundreds died trying to fight the beast as it continued to lay waste upon the lands. It wasn't until the leader of the village, the fourth Hokage, sacrificed his life to defeat the beast. Did he kill it? That the thing, he couldn't kill it. Then your village was destroyed? No, since he couldn't defeat it, he did the next best thing. He sealed it inside a newborn child, hoping to contain its power. You mean? Naruto nodded as he pointed in his stomach. He sealed it inside me. He chuckled. I had this huge furry demon sealed right here in my belly ever since I was born. Being the intelligent girl that she was, Rias managed to connect that dots. The people of your village found out about your situation. She looked at him sadly. You were made into a scapegoat, a pariah. People blamed all the lost lives to you. You're right. The villagers, they hated me since I was a kid. I was always mobbed by people who hurt me, they punch me, kick me, stab me, burn me. They demanded for my death because to them I was a demon, a devil, a monster. To them, rather than be its cage, its prison, I was treated as if I was the fox reincarnated. I guess being turned into a devil brought up really bad memories, and I kind of overreacted. He looked away from her. So I'm really sorry for snapping at you, it was my fault. A feeling of warmth then suddenly surrounded the blonde. Turning to girl, he was shocked to see her arms firmly placed around his frame. She hugged him. You don't need to worry about anything anymore. What, Ash? I don't care if there's a huge demon stuck in your belly. It's actually kinda cool, it's like having a sacred gear of your own. You don't hate me? You're not afraid? Why would I be afraid? To be afraid and to hate you would mean to be afraid and hate myself, my family, and this entire world I grew up in. He looked at her completely confused. How can a devil like me hate another devil who I reincarnated? I told you before, you're not a human anymore. Whatever trouble and pains you experienced as a human are long gone. You are free from the chains that bind you. This is the place where you belong, this is your new home, and this is your new life. A new life? She saved his life, the life of a stranger. Not once but twice she gave him a new life. That was more than anyone has given him throughout his entire life. Such an act of selflessness and kindness from one that is called a devil. He couldn't help but feel tears forming in his eyes. He mumbled out, not knowing what to say, as he was desperate to contain his tears. She smiled kindly at him before enveloping him in a hug. A simple gesture filled with so much love and emotion. A simple gesture that was stripped away from him since his birth. Yes, that was the first hug he received in his entire life. A hug that broke down the dam and forced the tears he held back to finally fall. Line break. Several hours later, after hours of crying which was followed by an absolute silence, the shinobi from Konoha finally pulled away from the hug. Thank you, Rias-chan. Thank you for your offer, but I'm really sorry. I need to go back to my world. Why? Because I have a promise to keep with my friends. Can't you let this promise go? He shook his head. It's a promise of a lifetime. I don't want to break it. I don't go back on my words, that is my way. He turned towards the ever-beautiful Rias, a small blushing appearing on his face as the light of the moon, or was it sun, in the skies off hell shined down upon the girl, making her even more breathtaking to his eyes. But if I fulfill this promise, then I won't mind coming back here and becoming a devil. She smiled, slowly getting up of the bed, unminding of her naked form as she stood in front of the bed, her back facing the window. Then how about this? You want to return to your world to fulfill your mission, but going through different dimensions is not an easy feat to achieve. You mean there's no way of me getting back to my old world? I never said that. Although it won't be easy, I will help you eventually find a way to get back to your own world if you agree to become a part of my peerage. Be one of my evil pieces, and I swear to you under my name of Rias that I will help you find a way to get back to your world. That is my promise to you as your new king. She spoke confidently, not a shred of lie or hesitation in her words. What an honest and noble girl. I don't really get what this whole peerage and king thing means, but I guess it's fine. He mumbled before a single light bulb appeared on top of his head. Then since you made a promise with me, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't do the same for you. He stood up from the bed and walked towards her, the moon, or was it the sun, basking the two of them in its blessing. He looked her straight in the eyes, getting lost in its beauty. Now that he thought about it, she didn't even know his name. He stopped a few paces in front of her, giving the girl one of his trademark cheerful smiles. He didn't really know why. It might have just because he got caught up in the heat of the moment, but he just suddenly decided to kneel in front of her in one leg like what those knights did in front of his liege from a story he read in the past. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, proud shinobi of Konoha, Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, and now devil. To you Rias, my new king, I pledge. Flashback end. A pledge to my king. It's been around 4 years since that fateful night, or was it day? 4 gruesome years filled various hijinks, complete with researching for trying to find a way back home, along with trainings from hell handed down by Spartanist teachers, thanks to a certain Mao, which honed both his body and mind so that he may be ready for any peril awaiting him in the future. Yes, it's definitely been a long and hard 4 years for him. But it wasn't just him. As promised, for the past 4 years Rias tried her best to help him get back to his land. The princess called hundreds of favors, wasted lots of resources, and even drove herself to the point of fainting several times just so that they could find anything that could help him get back to his world. Sadly, most of the attempts ended up in failure, even the one attempt which resulted in the two of them dealing with a rather tech-savvy Satan who reasoned that there was simply way too many dimensions and alternate universes in existence to exactly find and pinpoint the shinobi's original world. The man also said that it would take years of him doing nothing but looking through the gaps in order to find Naruto's world, which was something that the Mao wished not to do as his technological genius is needed elsewhere at the time. However, all of that was about to change this very day, because today was a day where he had a chance to take a test that may promote him to a middle-class devil. After almost a year of bugging both Rias and her older brother Surzekas, he was finally given the opportunity to participate in this test. He finally had a chance to get promoted and become an even bigger badass than he already was. That, and being a middle-class devil, means he will have more privileges that may help him with his desperate attempt to get back to his home. Although he would lie if he told anyone that he wasn't excited about the prospect of fighting other devils in this test. Hell, it actually motivated him to do nothing but train for the last month, much to the dismay of many since he often skipped school, club activities, and even work. Stupid Naruto forgetting to send his clones to cover for him. Shaking excitedly, the teen finally stopped running. He smiled as he stood just outside his destination. The doors leading to the Occult Research Club room. Behind this wooden door, his future awaited. With a small smile on his face, the shinobi from Konoha placed his calloused hands upon the door, giving it a light push. The bright light of the sun entered his vision as it shined through a small gap upon the curtained window. He winced at the new stimuli, taking a few seconds to get used to it before he finally saw the only person sitting ever so silently within the club room. Yes, the one who has given her a second chance in life. The one who started him on the path to his newest journey. She looked at him, her blue-green eyes meeting his cerulean blue once more, as she gave him a kind and sincere smile reserved only for those who were close to her. A simple smile which was accompanied by the slight waving of her crimson blood hair already caused a slight hue of red appear on the blonde's face. Ohio Naruto-kun. He grinned, showing his canine-like teeth before returning the kind-hearted gesture back at the crimson-haired devil with a kind and heartwarming smile of his own. Ohio Rias-chan. Mao, you know what you're supposed to call me Bucho when we're in the clubroom. Don't want to. Come on, please? Asked the buxom beauty in a rather cute manner that would make most men fold. Sadly, having had prolonged exposure to both the cuteness and sexiness proximity of his longtime king, the blonde has already built up an immunity against her charms, with the exception of her nude attacks, since those tend to work on any men who had a junk and considered themselves straight. Nope. She pouted before turning away from the rather stubborn blonde, completely missing a rather perverted smirk on his face. Fine, Oniai-sen has already contacted me. He said that Grafia will summon you via teleportation spell in a few minutes to take you to your promotion test. I'll be sure to follow later after taking care of a few other businesses I have planned out on. Cool. Make sure you're not late. I don't want you missing out on me kicking serious devil ass. Of course, what kind of king am I if I can't even attend my favorite piece's promotion exam? He glomped her, embracing her entire frame in his arms. Oh, that's why I love you, Rias-chan. She refrained, eeping out, and smiled for a moment as the blonde continued hugging her to no ends. She just let the ever-cheerful blonde do as he pleased. It's not like she hated it. Her bluish-green eyes trailed along the body the teen built and forged in the vague fires of hell. Despite being hidden underneath his clothes, she knew of the several scars gained through combat that marred the blonde's body. As if sensing some shift in her feeling, fox-like teen conveniently decided to break their hug there and then. She frowned. Gone was her rather childish and cheerful persona, which was replaced by a rather serious one. Naruto. What is Rias? She looked him straight in the eyes, her gaze filled with both confidence at his abilities yet also an underlying concern for his well-being. Are you sure you're ready for this test? You've only been a devil for a while, so there's no fault in delaying this test for a few more years. With his ever-confident smile plastered upon his face, the blonde devil answered confidently. I'm ready as I'll ever be. We both know it. The only way for me to lose this thing is if some freakishly strong devil decides to challenge me into a fight, but what are the chances of that happening? Rias sighed, refraining herself from shaking her head because of her piece's sheer optimism. That's good to hear, Naruto-kun. I know full well that you're capable enough to be a middle-class devil, but whatever you do, don't push yourself too hard. To the eyes of many like myself and Oniai-san, you are already a great devil. You can count on me. After today, I'll be a middle-ranking devil so I can help both you and myself, Databeo. Do your best, she whispered as a large magical circle appeared beneath the blonde's feet. You know I will, believe it, yelled the blonde as the circle began expelling a large amount of bright light, signifying the beginning of the transportation spell. I hope you return safely, my shinobi, she whispered as his figure slowly disappeared within the light of the great spell. But before he could fully disappear, the blonde was able to mutter out a sentence that which elicited a kind and sincere smile on the face of Rias. I'll be back soon, my king. A day after his bold proclamation that he will pass his exam and become a proud, badass, and awesome middle-class devil, we find our favorite blonde shinobi in the very same club room. He was laying down on top of one of the club's sofas in a fetal position. Short, incomprehensible grunts could be heard coming from him, while a small black rain cloud hanged above his head. In the same couch beside the shinobi sat none other than the cat-like Kaneko Tujo. The petite girl was busily patting the shinobi's back, trying her best to cheer up the obviously troubled shinobi. It would have been a warm and kind-hearted moment seeing her try to cheer him up if not for the petite girl eating manju while she patted his back with a rather deadpan expression marred on her face. Standing near the couch in total silence was none other than the other members of the Occult Research Club, composed of the blonde Casanova Yudokiba, and the two great ladies of Ko Academy, Akino Himejima and Rias Gremory, all of which were just staring at the petite girl and the very out-of-character Naruto. You have the shinobi grumbled. Kiba decided to break the silence by stating what he most likely thought happened to his friend. So, I'm guessing Naruto-san failed the promotion test? He asked. The crimson-haired Rias sighed as she started rubbing her temples. Yes and no. What do you mean, Bucho? Asked Akino, who was equally curious about what happened to the shinobi. He actually did well enough to pass all the tests, but ended up failing an unexpected challenge. What was the challenge? Asked the demonic sword user. My cousin Serorg Bale challenged Naruto-kun in a fight, Rias stated as she observed a look of shock quickly make its way towards her knight and queen's faces. Kiba's eyes were wide as dinner plates. The strongest youth? Rias nodded. The battle itself was one to be remembered for ages, and Naruto-kun actually held his ground, but eventually Serorg-san managed to defeat him in battle. Although from what I could tell, both of them were holding back. If you guys want to watch it, I'll be sure to buy the recording of the match when it comes out. I want to watch, said Kaneko, while Akino on the other hand had a rather surprised look on her face at the thought of the blonde shinobi going against such a monster like Serorg. Era really, Bucho? That's quite a feat. I didn't expect Ero Kitsune to be that strong. Fufufu, it seems he's hiding so much from us now these days. He did train for 1 whole month, and I'm sure everyone here knows how insane he trains if he wants to, exclaimed Kiba, who had a first-hand experience of trying one of his fellow blonde's ridiculous training routine. Safe to say he didn't last that long. Kaneko nodded while patting the shinobi in the back. I trained with him. He was holding back so much. Shinobi always hide stuff sneaky nin. But I don't see that as a problem. I've seen him lose dozens of times in the past. I mean, he always loses every time he fights against Beowulf of Mao Sama's peerage. How is this one defeat affecting him like this? Kiba asked. Rias cringed before sighing once more. Well, he technically already passed and was about to be awarded his new ranking as a devil, but she looked at the still moping blonde and sighed once more. Serorg-san's challenge wasn't exactly part of the test. My cousin just wanted to fight Naruto-kun since Serorg-san found him to be an interesting opponent. But that still wouldn't explain why he is all mopey Bucho. Let me finish. Kiba-kun. Rias closed her eyes, beautiful bluish-green eyes. Before the challenge, Serorg-san jokingly said that if Naruto-kun can beat him, then Naruto would be really worthy of his promotion. I see, so basically Ero-Kitsune got his ass kicked, and despite them still awarding him with the title of a middle-class devil, he refused it because he was too stubborn. He probably said something like. She paused for a moment as she tried her best to impersonate the depressed blonde's voice. I promise that I won't become a middle-class devil until I can kick your ass, Databeo. She then tilted her head to the side in a rather adorable manner, while placing one finger beneath her lips. Am I right, Bucho? She asked using her normal voice. Everyone in the room's sweat dropped at her, even the sulking blonde. Rias sighed yes, sadly it wasn't after he already said that and left did he only realize that he passed on an opportunity that was being handed to him on a silver platter. Baka Kaniko's deadpan exclamation echoed in the silent room. Mama, no need to put salt to his wounds. But Kiba-senpai, it was what everyone was thinking, replied Kaniko. Foo, she got you there, Kiba-kun. Akino turned to the still sulking Naruto. To pass of the opportunity of gaining the title of knight and increasing in rank, Ero-Kitsune really was being a baka. Must you tease him even further, Akino? Oh? Is Bucho getting overprotective of her beloved shinobi? The vice president of the Occult Research Club. Before Rias could reply to her queen, another unintelligible grunt came from the depressed blonde as the rain clouds on his head got bigger than before. It even started raining and thundering down on him. Bucho, what are we going to do about him? We can't leave him here, it's rather sad to see him like that. That is true, Kiba-kun. She placed her index finger under her chin, adopting a thinking pose. But is there anything we could do to cheer him up? Any suggestions? Maybe I should give him one of my special services to relieve him of stress? Akino suggested. No was the unanimous and instantaneous response from the rest of the club members. Why the quick rejection? Because I don't think he's in the mood for some S&M plays while he's like this. Actually, I don't think he's into S&M plays, period, answered Rias. Ah, such a shame, whispered Akino. Rias turned to her knight. Kiba-kun, you're a guy, do you know what can cheer a guy up when he's down like this? Maybe a hug or kiss would cheer him up. Are you suggesting that you want to kiss and hug Naruto-kun? Kiba blushed. No. Bucho, what gave you that idea? Foo, it's because of all those rumors between you and the Ero-Kitsune. Trying to change the topic, the Casavona turned to the crimson-haired princess. Ano, why don't you give him a kiss, the Bucho? Rias went red at the thought of kissing her shinobi. Oh, is Bucho-san really considering kissing her beloved shinobi? Akino. Foo, if you don't want to, I could always take your place and give Ero-Kitsune a kiss he'll never forget. She traced a finger along her lips before licking them in a rather suggestive manner. Rias glared at her queen. No kissing Naruto. No kissing Ero-Kitsune, or no one but me is allowed to kiss Ero-Kitsune? Rias' glare became even fiercer while Akino just chuckled since her Bucho was really so adorable when she was teased. It was no secret to the group that Rias developed a crush on the shinobi over the 4 years of the two knew each other. Not that Akino couldn't see what her friend was attracted to, from his well-built body, to his upbeat attitude, and those cute whisker marks, the blonde was a fine specimen among men and devils. Of course she knew that aside from Rias there were others who crushed on the blonde. She and a certain cat-like girl were in fact also guilty of being attracted to the blonde. Such a shame that the shinobi was apparently completely oblivious to their feelings. Stupid blonde. Treat him to ramen, suggested Kaniko as she moved from Naruto's back to his hair, gently rubbing the blonde's locks of hair, eliciting another groan from the blonde. Kiba, Akino, and Rias blinked. Yes, that would most likely cheer him up. The Ero-Kitsune does love his ramen. Of course we can treat Naruto-san to ramen. Who's paying? Asked the ever-silent Kaniko, making the other three freeze upon realization that someone needed to pay for the blonde's meal. Even the rich princess of the Gremry clan once found herself down 3 months' worth of allowance after persistently saying that she would pay for his meal. She had learned from her mistakes since then and often refrained from treating the blonde with ramen. The others, having experienced a rather similar situation, realized the direness of the current situation at hand. Whoever had to pay ramen to cheer the shinobi up would most likely be broke for the next month or two. For a moment it appeared that time froze as each member of the peerage glared at each other with the exception of Kaneko, who remained impassive as she continued petting her senpai. Sparks flew from Rias, Akino, and even Kiba's eyes. Not a single one of them was willing to pay. All of them only had a second to act. To be late was synonymous to being broke. In slow motion all four mouths opened as time slowly moved once more. Not it! Not it! Not it! No, darn it! A pledge to my king. The plan worked like a charm. 99 bowls of ramen equated to one very happy shinobi. Sitting in the stall of the only ramen restaurant in the whole city, the Seishin Ramen, Spirit Ramen, was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, who was busily engulfing his 100th bowl of ramen, much to the frustration of Kiba, who was crying in the corner of the restaurant, while Kaneko patted the knight's back. God, that is some good ramen. The now recharged and ever-cheerful Naruto cheered out. He patted the great ramen void known as his stomach while ignoring the sudden burst of pain he received from muttering the name of God. I think he faked it. He definitely faked it. He faked being depressed so we would treat him to ramen. I know he did it. I can see it in his eyes. Cried out Kiba, who was slowly dwindling in his own depression. For Mao's sake, how was he even going to afford to pay his rent? I don't think Ero Kitsune has it in him to be so devious, said Akino, who was sitting to the left of Naruto, gracefully eating her own order of shrimp ramen. I agree with Akino. I find it hard that Naruto-kun would try and pull something like that, since it's just not like him, added Rias, who was sitting to the blonde's left, also eating her own order of miso ramen. Yeah, Naruto-senpai isn't like that, whispered Kaneko, who at the moment was on her 5th bowl of kitsune ramen. I guess it's true, admitted Kiba rather dejectedly, although he swore that for a second he saw a mischievous glint in the shinobi's eyes. Must have been a trick of the eye. Slamming his 100th bowl down on the table of the stall, the blonde slightly leaned towards the kitchen. Ayusukerji, can you get me another bowl of miso ramen? He yelled out, only to get his response in the form of a ladle that smashed against his face and forced him to fall from his seat. Ouch. What the hell? A slightly tanned man with a lean but muscular frame, wearing a white apron and a chef's hat like Tucci-san, peeked out of the ramen joint's kitchen. He looked to be around his late 20s and had slicked back black hair and brown eyes. Oh, you disrespectful brat. How many times have I told you never to call me? Gee, I'm still young. Naruto jumped off the ground and glared at the man. Why the hell are you hitting your customers? You're not a customer. You work here. Hell, you rent the apartment right above this store. It's my day off, so give me some slack. I'm a paying customer today. The older man glared at the blonde. It's not your day off. You've skipped out of work for the last month, brat. Now Yusuke-kun, don't be mean to Naruto-san, came from a woman peeking out of the kitchen just a few paces of the first ramen chef and stall owner. She was a beautiful brunette, a kind and often soft-spoken woman garbed in the same clothes as her husband. Her name was Keiko, and she was one of the nicest person the blonde has met in his entire life. Although behind that calm and sweet facade lied a vicious slap that both Naruto and Yusuke had the displeasure of experiencing when they acted rather stupid. Her slaps aside, Naruto still couldn't believe how such a nice girl married a stupid hothead delinquent. Stop gawking at my wife. The older man smacked Naruto in the head while his wife replaced the empty bowl of ramen with a newly filled one before returning in the kitchen. And you're not paying. Your friend Kiba's the one paying, the man shouted, causing said Casanova of a teen to deflate as his fellow blonde was quick to recover from the blow, and was now attacking his 101st bowl of ramen. Hello, Yusuke-san, was the kind and simple greeting of Rias. Oh, good to see you three beautiful ladies, said the ramen owner as he looked at Kaneko, Rias, and Akino, the first of which was still busy multitasking between eating ramen and trying cheering up Kiba. Fu, Yusuke-san, are you trying to hit on high school students when you're already happily married? Quipped Akino. Haha, just complimenting. Still, I don't see what you guys find in this brat. The owner and head chef of the restaurant placed his delinquent of a worker on a neck lock. A hold the blonde continued to ignore along with the rest of the world, as he kept his undivided attention to his ramen. Ero Kitsune's pretty fun and lively. He doesn't give up. He's kind, helpful, courageous, and would do anything for his friends. Oh, that's a pretty in-depth answer, Rias-san. A glint of mischief appeared on Yusuke's eyes. Is someone perhaps crushing on this worker of mine? A tint of pink appeared on Rias' face. So how is your business, Yusuke-san? She asked, trying to change the topic of the conversation. Seriously, why was everyone teasing her about Naruto-kun? It's great as always, thought it would be better if the fangirl bait he points at Naruto was here working to increase sales. Aside from that, I also need some extra help around here since a certain someone has skipped out on work for the past month. Hey, I told you I was training. The blonde shouted as he placed down his now empty bowl. A Yusukerji, another one. The ramen chef rolled his eyes. Yeah, I know, training for some underworld tournament of some sort. Been there, done that, so did you win? He lost, exclaimed Kaneko, who ordered another bowl of ramen as well. Really? For someone who lost, you don't look really down. Like heck, I'm going to be depressed. As long as I have ramen by my side, I can even kill gods, declared a grinning Naruto. The Occult Research Club barring one, sweat dropped. Yusuke chuckled. Did you at least kick ass? Kicked enough ass that I actually won. I thought you lost? Extra round, got my ass kicked pretty bad. So what are you going to do about? Going to train some more so I can kick his ass one day. Yusuke grinned and patted the blonde on his back. Good, get stronger, brat, and who knows, one day you might become strong enough to put up a good fight against me. And I'd definitely kick your ass. I'd like to see you try. A shout came from the kitchen, ending any further banter between the two. Yusuke-kun, more orders. A few asking for deliveries. Hi. I'll be there in a bit. Yusuke shouted back before looking at the blonde shinobi one more time before leaving. Well, I'll see you later, brat. Take the rest of the week off, but starting next week it's back to the daily 8-hour shifts, okay? Yeah, thanks, boss. Quickly replied the shinobi. Rias slightly elbowed the blonde in his sides. You do know who your boss is, right? Yep, he's just another name in my long list of asses to kick on my road to becoming a badass higher-ranking devil. Rias shook her head at her shinobi's flippant attitude. Erokitsune really is lucky to have met and befriended such a strong person. Meh, he sells good ramen almost on par on the ramen I eat back home, replied Naruto as he was given another bowl of ramen, which again took up almost all of his attention. He really does love ramen. Akino smiled, eyes glancing towards her king. She shifted slightly from her seat and leaned behind the shinobi to approach her king. Foo, there's your number one rival for his love, Bucho, joked the sadistic queen, causing the crimson-haired princess to narrow her eyes at her longtime friend. Her shinobi really wouldn't choose ramen over a woman's proclamation of love, right? Right. A pledge to my king. After several more bowls of ramen and more tears from Kiba, the Occult Research Club minus Kiba, who already went home lamenting on the fact that he just lost 2 months' worth of rent, walked out of the premises of the ramen restaurant. By then the moon was shining brightly amidst the cloudless night sky. A cold breeze was passing gently through the air, giving a slight feeling of chill to those who stood outside. Naruto smiled. A hand was placed in his slightly enlarged stomach as he bowed at the remaining members of the club. Thanks, guys. You need to thank Kiba-senpai, deadpan Kaneko. I was planning to, but he already left. Foo, you made him cry, Erokitsune. How, why did he cry? It was just a few bowls of ramen, right? Rias and Akino's sweat dropped while they simultaneously thought, how is 150 bowls of ramen few? Kiba-senpai is broke, answered the white-haired Yukai. Why? You ate too much ramen that he paid for. Then to pay him back, I'll treat him to ramen next time, Databayo. I think Kiba-san wouldn't want to be near ramen anytime soon, Naruto-kun, said the crimson-haired princess as she folded her arms underneath her chest, pushing them up and making them stand out even more. Naruto, next time be sure to think before you act. I don't want something like this happening anytime soon. I know you're strong, but fighting someone as strong as my cousin was reckless, bordering insane. Naruto nodded absent-mindedly. I'll try my best not to get my ass kicked. He then looked at the sky and noticed that it was getting a bit late. Do you girls want me to walk the three of you home? He asked. The sadist placed her left hand over her mouth. Foo, planning on taking advantage of us while walking us home, you Erokitsune? No, actually, walking you home is not a way to protect you, but rather a way I can save the lives of the people who are stupid enough to try and have their way with you three, quipped the shinobi. Rias actually chuckled at Naruto's remark. Protecting them and not us, has my shinobi abandoned his king to the hands of the deviants that lurk the night? I know full well that you two are strong enough to fend anything barring a high-ranking devil or a flock of fallen angel. Plus I trust your abilities just as much as I trust my king. Oh my! Such complete and honest trust in our skills. Foo, you're making me blush, Ero Kitsune. The queen quickly moved behind the blonde and enveloped him in a tight hug. Maybe I should show you just how able I am, Kitsune-kun, she added rather suggestively as she pressed her assets against his back while tracing a finger along the shinobi's chest. Oh, and she wasn't wearing a bra. How did he know? Well, let's just say there were two hard objects from those mounds poking him from the back. He blushed almost immediately because of the sudden contact. What are you doing? Ero Kitsune is really cute when he blushes. She chuckled lightly while further pressing her chest against the blonde's back. She really loved teasing the shinobi and to an extent her king, who was pouting rather cutely while also glaring daggers at her. Keeping a rather sly smile on her face, Akino turned to Rias. Era, is Bucho getting jealous? Rias' glare intensified while Kaneko remained mostly impassive, although if one were to look carefully the normally stoic girl's eyebrows were twitching. You could always join us if you wanted, suggested the devil with a rather seductive tone. Having had enough of her queen's teasing, Rias placed her hand on the sadist's shoulder, while a small tick mark appeared on her forehead. You've had enough fun today, right, Akino-chan? Era, I don't know what you mean. She tried to act rather innocently while letting go of the still blushing blonde. It's getting late, I think it's time we go, right, Akino-chan? Rias asked in rather sweet tone that barely hid her displeasure from her friend's actions. Kaneko-chan, do you wish to teleport home? I live nearby, I'll just walk. Naruto snapped out of his Issei-induced daze upon hearing the petite girl's words. Don't worry about Kaneko-chan, I'll walk her home. Akino slightly bowed. Then good night, Kitsune-kun, Kaneko-chan. Good night as well, Naruto-san, Kaneko-chan, said the crimson-haired princess of Ruin before a red circle made of various symbols holding the insignia of the Gremry clan appeared beneath her and Akino's feet. Not even a second later a flash of blinding red light surrounded the two. When the light receded, the two already vanished into thin air. That was interesting, muttered the blonde, referring to the experience of Akino being clingy once more. She's been doing that a lot lately to tease him. She did do that to just tease him, right? It's not like she really was serious with all of her suggestive actions, right? Kaneko just shook her head as she started walking towards the direction of her home away from the shinobi. Ero-senpai, she whispered. Apparently having picked up on the insult, the shinobi quickly apologized. Sorry about that, Nico-chan. Senpai is being more Ero these days. Do you hate me for being Ero? No, she slowly snapped her head towards him. But I hate it when Senpai acts like a baka. Sorry for being baka, Nico-chan. As a sign of apology, the blonde shinobi's hand extended towards the white-haired girl's head. He placed his hand atop her head, his fingers moving ever so slowly to the place he knew where her ears were kept hidden. With an almost practiced motion, the blonde rubbed the spot with soft and long strides. The petite girl immediately went putty in his hands. It wasn't the first time he rubbed the girl's head since over the past 4 years this simple gesture became his way of apologizing to the young cat Yukai every time he did something stupid. Considering who he was and how immature he was back then, it was safe to say that he almost petted the girl like this on a daily basis. Why did you have to fight him? She asked in between her soft purrs. Because he challenged me to a fight. Why? She asked once more, asking for a deeper meaning for his actions. Do you really want to know? She nodded. He sighed before pulling his hands away from her head, much to the girl's frustration. It was because he reminded me of 2 people in my life. One was an old friend of mine who I actually admire and wanted to fight before I got stuck in this world. She nodded. And the other? He reminded me of myself. How? She asked curiously. Secret, he answered rather playfully. The cat-like girl puffed her cheeks. I'll tell you another time, Kaneko-chan. She pouted slightly but allowed him to drop the subject since he didn't seem to want to answer the question. Then are you okay now? Yeah, that meal managed to get me out of my funk. Was it really that bad? I gave it as much as I could without relying on its power, and I still got my ass kicked. Really strong? Kaneko asked. Stronger than all of us combined at the moment, admitted the slightly grinning shinobi, who was already in the midst of thinking about his epic rematch against the heir to the Bale family. What will you do now? I guess I'll train even more until one day I can beat him. Why? You know why. He smiled. I never give up, I never go back on my promises. I promise to kick his ass one day, and I will do just that. He chuckled, scratching the back of his head. She really loved that part of her senpai. The unwavering and unshakable will that never gives up. Can I still help train you? Naruto nodded as he recalled that she was the one who he trained with the most for the past month. That would be nice. Then can I stay with you tonight? Kaneko suddenly asked, making the blonde shinobi almost lose a step and fall face first on the ground. Seriously, what was up with all of his female friends? Why would you want to do that, Nico-chan? He asked, surprise clear in the tone of his voice. Help you train more tonight. Ah, I thought you meant something else. Ero-senpai. Hey, don't blame me, you were the one who suggested to stay in my place. A mischievous smirk marred his face. Or did you really want to do it? My, is Nico-chan in heat? The tint of pink in the yokai's face became more vibrant as she heard her senpai's perverse question. Not knowing how to answer, the petite girl did the next best thing she could think of. She punched him in the shoulder, sending him skidding back a few feet away. Normally that punch would have broken someone's arm, but her senpai really was far from normal. Sorry Nico-chan, I just couldn't resist. Baka-senpai, she puffed her cheeks in a rather indignant manner. Why can't I stay? I'm going to be a bit busy tonight, answered Naruto. Training? Yep, I'm just training and doing some homework since I've missed out on a lot during the last month. Then why can't I train with you? Not physical, more on spiritual, like meditating. Using chakra? You know it. You use chakra weirdly? Naruto chuckled. It's not my fault that no one here thought of using chakra to fire out super awesome wind and lightning jutsus. Still weird, Kaneko replied in her usual deadpan way. Well, sorry for being weird then. Are you training in senjutsu? The girl asked out of nowhere. No, Naruto shook his head. I know you taught me the concept of senjutsu, but I'd rather not try to use it now. Not when the very person who was trying to teach it to me has trouble using it. Promise? Her hazel eyes gazed upon her senpai, the moonlight bathing his figure in all its glory. His blue eyes were shining amidst the darkness of the night, making those beautiful and alluring blue orbs stand out. The Nikomata, she felt a slight tug in her heart. For some reason her senpai felt more breathtaking than usual. Yes, you can count on me, answered the ever-smiling blonde shinobi. I promise you that I won't attempt to use senjutsu until you're comfortable with it, okay? His hands reached for her head as he gently ruffled her hair, once more eliciting another soft purr from the petite Nikomata. Her hazel eyes gazed upon her senpai, the moonlight bathing his figure in all its glory. His blue eyes were shining amidst the darkness of the night, making those beautiful and alluring blue orbs stand out. The Nikomata, she felt a slight tug in her heart. For some reason her senpai felt more breathtaking than usual. Thank you, she whispered as she broke from his hand before increasing her pace, desperate to get ahead of the blonde so that he may not see the growing blush on her face. No problem, anything for you, Nico-chan, replied Naruto as he tucked his hands inside the pockets of his pants while he slowly walked a few steps behind the speeding Nico. Before the two even noticed it, they were already on top an overpass only minutes away from the petite yokai's apartment. After passing the halfway point of the overpass, the young Nikomata stopped walking before turning towards her senpai, who was still walking behind her. I can walk from here. Are you sure? We're only a few minutes away from your house and I don't mind walking you full way. She shook her head. I don't want to get in the way of your training, senpai. The petite girl took a few steps towards him, extending her arms to envelop his bigger frame in a small hug. A hug that he kindly returned. Good night, Naruto-senpai, she whispered, releasing her hold upon the blonde before turning around and resuming her walk towards her home. Good night to you, Toshiro-chan, replied Naruto, a small smile tugging the side of his lips as he watched her retreating figure disappear towards the other side of the overpass, vanishing into the darkness of the beautiful night. With the small smile still plastered upon his face, the blonde turned around and made his way back his home. A pledge to my king. Opening the door to his room, the teen was welcomed to the ever-familiar sight of the place he has the pleasure of renting out for the past few years. It was a simple, decently sized room with various magical symbols scribbled around its wall. The room had a small kitchen, a closet with all his clothes, a bathroom that doubled as the laundry room. There was also a desk for studying which stood on the far corner of the room. Beside it was bookshelf filled with various books, manga, and the blonde's secret stash, which was carefully hidden inside the books. Opposite to the desk was none other than a comfortable bed that stood beside a window and was located to the far left of a large flat-screen TV connected to a gaming console that he brought from the underworld, which was basically the bastardized child of the three major gaming system of the human world. Yeah, a really simple room. Closing the door on his way in, the blonde quickly made his way to his pseudo-bedroom and living and sat down on the ground crossing his legs. Okay, time to train again, he whispered before creating a single clone. Yo, what is it, boss? I'm going to my Mindscape for a while. So what do you want me to do? Do my homework, he commanded. The fuck? Do it yourself, the clone complained. Ignoring his clone, the teen took several breaths, the next breath shallower than the first ones until he was breathing a bare minimum to support his life. The teen then closed his cerulean blue eyes, welcoming the ever-familiar embrace of the great darkness to descend into the deepest regions of his mind. Line break. Beautiful and empowering crimson red. That was the first color his eyes perceived as they slowly opened and revealed unto him the representation of his mind, taking the shape of the ever-vibrant crimson forest of the underworld. He had no idea how his mindscape changed from that of an old sewer to such a wonderful forest, but then again he wasn't one to complain. To him this was definitely better than what it looked like before. Definitely an upgrade from the sewer-like mindscape that he had in the past. The forest in itself was very similar to that of the one he first gazed upon during his early days in the underworld. Trees with crimson leaves extended as far as the eyes could see, creating the image of a sea of pure, exhilarating red. However, his mindscape was not 100% replica of that forest. Instead, there was one small variation. The blonde smiled fondly as he was the form of a small clearing from afar. It was a simple piece of land surrounded by a patch of red trees. In the middle of the clearing stood 3 stumps which were lined side by side, forming what looked like a replica of his old training grounds. For a moment, memories of his past life flashed through his mind. He could see a younger version of him tied in one of those stumps, being offered food by both Sasuke and Sakura. Those were the days. Too bad Sasuke had to ruin it all by betraying Konoha. Naruto quickly shook his head. It wasn't the time to think about them. No time to dwell in the past, he told himself, giving the training ground one last glance before moving away. He had a certain fur ball of a tenant to find. The shinobi walked silently through the wide expanse of the eternal crimson forest. His soft footstep clashing against the hardened earth was the only sound that can be heard from a distance. He did not know how much time passed, but the devil finally managed to reach a certain clearing, this one eerily similar to the place where his king tried to convince him to return with her in the past. Heck, he could even the cracked land and torn trees he made during his raging rampage. Not really the proudest moment of his life. His blue eyes gazed upon the damaged clearing until he spotted the frame of the demonic fox. Wow, you look like crap, exclaimed Naruto as he walked towards the great Kyubi no Yoko, who still looked the same as ever. It had its trademark orange fur accompanied by 9 tails swishing about, and it still had the same red eyes. Yes, still the same as ever. Well, the same, aside from the fact that the great Kyubi was now just the size of a small common house dog. A really small house dog who at that moment looked snappish as it continued to glare at him with its bloodshot eyes. Screw you, brat. Sorry, I don't swing that in whatever way a chakra beast/demon/devil/fox like you swings. Just tell me why you're here, then get out. I need some sleep. How that's strange, don't you always sleep in here? It's been real noisy recently. Now GKI, tell me why you're here before I destroy you with my power. You know you were much more threatening when you were huge. The fox scowled before growling. Don't waste any more of my sleeping time. Okay, fine. You think you could lend me some of your power without me going insane? Fuck off, monkey. I already willingly give you a small piece of my almighty greatness, yet you still continue to wish for more. Greedy monkey, learn your place. So is that a maybe? It's a no. But why? Come on, be a Paul Fuzzy butt. Growling. Why? Because ever since you turned into a devil, or whatever the hell you are right now, my powers became fucked up beyond recognition. Grr. Piss me off any further, and I'll really screw with the pheromones you release. I'll make ITS so you actually release double the amount your body is producing. You can actually do that? Asked Naruto, who was rather shocked by this new information. If his tenant were to do as it threatened, then the consequence would be catastrophic. He might be forced to live a life away from civilization just so he could avoid getting mobbed and killed by the girls who chase after him. I don't know. But I'm about to try, yelled the still cranky Kyubi. Naruto took a step away from the creature while showing a rare expression of fear upon his face. You wouldn't, Naruto said in shock as he glared the small puppy-sized Kyubi. If you keep pissing me off any further, then I wouldn't mess with Naruto's body, isn't that right, Kyubi-san? Cut in a new voice coming from the forest opposite of Naruto and the Kyubi. Yuji Chichichi-2 again grumbled the QB as it glared at the presence of the two newcomers. The first was boy who looked a few years younger than the other blonde. The boy was clad in a white jacket with matching pants. This boy bore a striking resemblance to its prison as seen through the boy's blue eyes and blonde spiky hair. The second newcomer was a girl with knee-length red hair and violet eyes. She was wearing a short-sleeved tan kimono-like blouse. Just from the sight of the two, the QB wanted nothing more than to kill them where they stood. "Oh, don't you like us, QB-chan?" asked the girl with vibrant red hair. "Chan? Girl, you dare call me Chan? If I were back to my full size and power, I would have killed all of you without hesitation," roared the miniature QB, who by all intents and purposes did not look threatening, rather it actually looked cute. "Why all the hate?" asked the younger-looking blonde. Why? Grrr, I swear to Rikudo, hey, what the hell are you doing?" shouted the miniature Bijou as its tenant grabbed it by its small arm and lifted it up in the air. "Well, since you don't really want to help me and you're kinda cranky, then you can stay here and sleep while I talk with my friends over there," said the blonde shinobi, while shouts, profanities, and death threats that would have made sailors blush rapidly fired off the nine-tailed kitsune's mouth. Taking out a sturdy rope, where it came from even Naruto didn't know, he made a small leash and tied it around the Bijou's neck before tying said creature up on a nearby tree. "You insignificant whelp! How dare you! How dare you bind me like this? You shall pay for this! I'll kill you! I swear to Rikudo that I will murder you when I regain my full power." Yeah, kill you, murder you, burn your village to the ground. You can threaten me all you want, but you can't hurt me when you're tied up like that, Databeo. Ignoring the growls and several other shouts of hate coming from his tenant, the blonde turned towards the other two presences in his mindscape. "Evening, Minato-san and Kushina-chan, how are you two? Did you guys finally get your memories back, or is it still messy up your heads?" he asked with a goofy grin. Ha, it's getting there. I remember a few more jutsus, but aside from that my memories are still fuzzy," replied Minato while scratching the back of his head. "Yeah, same for me. But I did remember one extremely badass right-hand jutsu, Databane," cheerfully shouted Kushina. "Oh? Really? Can I see? Naruto asked. Almost really didn't know who the two others were, and they didn't really know who they were since they apparently had some form of amnesia, but the two were supposedly souls that were sealed inside him along with the QB. So far the only thing he got from them were their names, Kushina and Minato. He had no idea why they were stuck inside him in the first place, but he wasn't one to complain since the two of them were pretty nice and cool to hang around with. Heck, they even helped him learn a few jutsus that they still remembered. Freaking deadly futon jutsu from Minato and kick-ass right-on jutsu from Kushina has made his life as a devil and shinobi way better than it was before. "Just watch," the redhead boldly proclaimed as she started going through several hand seals. She finished with a ram seal which caused sparks of bluish-white lightning to surround the girl in the form of a dazzling sparking cloak with 9 shocking tails. Not even a second later the redhead extended her hands towards a nearby tree while still holding the ram seal, which generated the form of a large roaring fox of pure lightning that soared through the air and crashed against the forestry, destroying and burning several trees before eventually fading out of existence. Naruto's jaw dropped almost immediately while Minato let out an impressed whistle. "Wahahaha, it's awesome, right?" The redhead laughed triumphantly while placing her hands on her waist. "Wow, that was badass. What's it called?" asked Naruto, who was in awe at the jutsu's destructive capabilities. It was definitely a move that he wanted to learn. She grinned proudly before pumping one of her fists up in the air. "I don't know." The two men face planted. "I just remember how to do it, but I don't know what it's called." From the ground Naruto looked up towards the smiling Kushina. "Can you teach it to me?" he asked. The red-headed girl puffed her chest out. "Of course not. I teach it to you because I don't know how it works. My body just remembered how to do it. Heck, I don't even remember the basic concept of the technique, I just did it unconsciously, Databane." "Then why are you acting so proudly?" the two still face-planted blondes thought. "It's really too bad that the most you two can teach me here are the hand seals and the basic concept behind these techniques if you could remember them, but then again you two have given me great ideas," said the still face-planted Naruto. "No problem, I'm glad that we could help," muttered Minato. Kushina crossed her arms around her still developing bosom. "It's the least we could do so we don't have to pay rent." "Ugh, Kushi, we don't even pay rent, or did you forget that we're inside Naruto-san's mind?" Oh yeah, forgot about that." She stuck her tongue out in a rather cute manner before tilting her head to the side and lightning bonking her own head. Kawaii, the two blondes simultaneously thought. Let it be known that both had a rather peculiar weakness towards redheads. Naruto, managing to recover first from the redhead's cuteness proximity, turned to his fellow blonde. Also, is there any way to make that Horatian thingy you've been talking about and trying to teach me the last few months any simpler? I mean, I tried experimenting on it a bit, but it was really a pain in the ass. Hehe, sorry about that, Naruto, but if I had my full notes I'd show them to you since I know they could help you out even more. Apologized the other blonde. Kushina snickered, catching the attention of the two blondes. It's because Minakuin is a nerd and us normal folk can't understand his gibberish. A tick mark appeared on his fellow blonde's head. Hey, I'm not a nerd, he quickly protested while getting up from the ground. The red-haired girl grinned, pointing one of her fingers to the boy's face. Yes, you are, you girly boy. No, I'm not, you Tamba, roared the rather ticked-off-looking girly-looking blonde. It was Kushina's turn to have a tick mark appear on her head. Flimsy, she shouted. Tomato, Minato shouted back as he glared at the red-haired girl, sparks of electricity appearing between their heated gazes. Well, thanks for the show, but I think it's time for me to go. I'll see you two and the fox next time, whispered Naruto, who by then already stood up and quickly distanced himself from the two bickering teens. He didn't really know why, but he never really wanted to see an argument between his two tenants. It just felt really uncomfortable for him to see the two fighting for some reason. That, and he really didn't want to see the blonde get his ass handed to him by the red-haired girl as he'd seen so in the past. He still shudders how it sadly mirrored his old relationship with Sakura. The shinobi took one more glance at his other tenants before shaking his head at their continued bickering and departing from his mindscape, leaving behind the two teenagers who were still glaring at each other. A few minutes of intense glaring later, Minato finally broke his glare from the red-haired beauty. So Kushi-chan want to make out? He suddenly asked. The redhead girl's eyes widened for a moment before she let out a cute giggle, a small blush appearing on her face. I thought you'd never asked, Minakuin, replied the girl as she inched closer towards the spiky-haired blonde. From afar, the great Kyubi no Yoko, now reduced to the size of a mere house dog, placed its paws over its ears to block out the sounds coming from the two hormonal teenage versions of the people responsible for majority of its misfortune, including its recent lack of recent sleep with all the noises the two were constantly making. I fucking hate you monkeys, it muttered under its breath while swearing revenge upon them all. Line break. A tick mark immediately appeared on Naruto's head as he returned to the real world after his rather fruitless session of talking with the residents of his mind. The fuck are you doing? He blurted out as he watched his clone picking its nose while laying down on his bed in a rather lazy manner. Reading, said the clone, who pointed at the magazine sprawled out on top of the bed. And what are you reading? The clone lifted up the magazine and showed Naruto the cover, which had a smoking hot redhead woman clad in a rather skimpy lingerie. Porn. Naruto started rubbing his temples. Did you at least do my homework? He asked. Nope, was his clone's quick reply as it turned a page from his magazine. Why? The clone glared at its creator. Because fuck you. You don't even want to do it for yourself, then why the hell should I bother doing it for you, Databeo? Those were the famous last words from the clone, who was instantly dispelled by Naruto. Stupid clone, whispered the blonde as he reached for his materials for school. Having skipped a lot for the past month, he had a lot of catching up to do. Ugh, I'd rather fight a group of fallen angels than do this, he complained as he opened up a textbook labeled Japanese mythology and began reading about the god and goddesses of Japan, particularly a passage about the god of the sea and storms. Interesting sword, he whispered as he continued reading the tales of the god's journey for homework. A pledge to my king. The next week or two for one Naruto Uzumaki was rather, well, to put it in one word, normal. Most of his time was spent doing rather menial tasks such as training both his body and mind, doing schoolwork, running from the different mobs, screaming at a certain member of said mob to get his stomach stabbed by a spear in response to a comment that the blonde should get a hand pierced through his chest, beating the crap out of all the haters who wanted to maul him, distributing his devil contracts on streets using his clones, working in the ramen restaurant, secretly eating ramen from said restaurant, getting chased by a rather pissed-off owner of said restaurant after being found guilty of secretly eating the store's ramen, getting blown away by a demonic ray gun from said restaurant ramen shop owner. To some this may sound like an insane week, but for one Naruto Uzumaki it was relatively normal when compared to the other thrilling stuff he's done throughout his life. Although the week was not entirely that boring, as it did have certain highlights as seen through the times the blonde shinobi spent with the other members of the Occult Research Club. Without having to train 24/7 for his middle promotion exam, the blonde shinobi managed to spend more quality time with the other members. He and Rias divided their time between talking about several topics such as the current ongoing around the different realms while also talking about the newest anime shows that were currently trending both the human world and the devil world, along with playing chess, a game which Naruto hated because he thought it was boring beyond hell. But he bared with it since his king always enjoyed playing a game, or 2 or 20 against him. With Akino, the teen spent most of his time with her, blushing furiously as she often teased him with her body, much to his king's displeasure. But aside from that, the two of them spent some time training in magic, or as Naruto vehemently called it, jutsus, since the two of them had a similarity in elements, as they both could use and control lightning. He still had the marks from some of her accidental lightning bolts that sometimes hit too close for comfort. In the case of Kiba, the shinobi spent his time actually working with his fellow blonde in his workplace. The swordsman was hired as a temporary part-time worker for the restaurant until more help could be hired. He tried asking Kiba what his fellow blonde needed the money for, to which Kiba replied with a sad and almost hopeless tone, saying it was for the rent. When he asked why he needed it for the rent, he could have sworn that for a moment the usually kind, gentle, and cheerful swordman wanted to choke him to death. What a funny guy. As promised, he and Kaneko trained and honed their bodies for countless hours through relatively insane means. To up his training, Naruto tried multiplying all the heaviness of all the weights strapped around his body tenfold, which definitely was not his brightest idea, as the petite cat-like girl chuckled at seeing him sprawled on the ground like a bug. Well, at least she was pretty cute when she laughed. That made the experience way better for him than it should have been. In hindsight, Naruto should have been more appreciative and joyful of these days. But alas, there was no way for him to know that these days were quickly dwindling away. In the future, he will beg even the gods for days like these. The soon-to-be seldom-seen normal days. A pledge to my king. This night marked the beginning of the end. It was already the middle of the night, the streets relatively empty as the people of the earth enjoyed the warmth given to them by the solace and safety of their homes. After a generally uneventful day spent by lounging around the Occult Research Club Room 1, Naruto Uzumaki could be found happily walking down the empty streets with a small plastic bag in hand. By the large smile on the blonde's face, it could be assumed that the contents of said bag must be precious, as every now and then the blonde took a peek in its contents and giggled ever so lightly. Now, if most people were to see this, they would assume that the contents of the bag was of the perverted nature that a certain brown-haired boy or a certain perverted sage from another would most certainly enjoy, but that was far from the truth. "I've finally gotten it," he whispered happily as peeked in the bag. "It took me a while because of all the stuff that happened, really, but I finally got it." Placing one hand inside the bag, the teen quickly pulled out its contents, a Blu-ray box set that showed the picture of a crimson-red mechanical robot with what looked like a pair of glasses strapped upon its chest. It was a limited edition Blu-ray box set of the one anime show that everyone in his school was talking about. Now, he was by no means an otaku, but it became a sort of hobby for him to watch and collect CDs of this things called anime. Truth be told, if there was anyone to blame for his current hobby, it was his king, who, despite denying that she was otaku, introduced him to this foreign mode of media. At first, he didn't really like the idea of just sitting around and watching make-believe characters fight and talk about random stuff, as he preferred to exercise and train his body. But after watching a couple of series involving this gigantic beings known as mechas, robots, nightmares, Gundams, and Evangelions, he became a fan of anime. Just the thought of those things that were bigger and more badass than any summon he could think of just brought shivers down his spine. It even made him consider the thought of saving up enough money so he can build his own robot in the future. Sadly, his plan was quickly shot down by Rias, who told him it was a waste of money. He tried arguing with her, but when she equated the amount of money he'll need to build a robot and the number of ramen he could eat with said amount of money, the shinobi quickly abandoned the idea. Naruto grinned happily as he looked at his collectible box set. "I'm going to enjoy watching this." He chuckled as a cool breeze of the evening sky went over him. What did those otaku keep signing? He cupped his chin in a rather puzzled manner before a small light bulb appeared on top of his head. Row, fight the pow." He forcefully cut himself off whatever he was planning to say, eyes quickly narrowing. The teen immediately tensed, his body readying itself to react towards the eerie atmosphere. Yes, there was a strange feeling in the air, a mixture of both purity and impurity. It was actually a familiar feeling to the blonde, as he felt the same aura on two individuals that he had the pleasure of meeting. One was none other than his king's queen Akino, who gave out the same feeling although in a lesser extent, and the other came in the form of a perverted patron that often ordered ramen in his workplace. That man practically radiated off this feeling by waves that he was sure he would have drowned in its presence. The slight spiking of killing intent confirmed his suspicions, alerting him to the hostile presence in the area. The teen calmly placed his collectible box set in the plastic bag, then into the safety of his school's blazer. Whoosh! The sound of something passing through the air caught the shinobi's attention. It was a spear made of yellow light sailing through the air as it approached him in breakneck speeds. Fallen angel, the teen whispered as he quickly somersaulted backwards to avoid getting impaled by holy spear made of pure light that crashed against the very spot he stood in mere moments ago. As he flipped backwards, a single kunai quickly dropped down from right sleeve of the shinobi's blazer. Halting his somersaults, the teen took hold of the blade and held it defensively in front of his body while glaring at his attacker. A buxom woman with long navy blue hair flying up in the air with her crow-like wings. She was wearing what looked like a violet skirt matched by trenchcoat-like top with a wide collar giving a view of her rather voluptuous and cleavage. "Well, what the hell is a fallen angel like you doing here?" Naruto asked, only for his response to come in the form of a yellow spear of light forming in the fallen angel's hands. She then threw the spear at him. "Devil hunting," said the fallen angel with a rather arrogant tone as she smirked while watching her spear hit its target, piercing the blonde devil right through his chest. Smash! Only to find an impaled log in the place of the devil. "What the?" she muttered out in shock as she looked closely and confirmed that she indeed attacked a log instead of the shinobi. "Hey!" The fallen angel's head snapped towards the direction of the voice and found that the devil she was trying to kill was standing a few steps away from the now broken log. "I just asked what a fallen angel like you is." Naruto was cut off when another spear of light was thrown at him courtesy of the fallen angel. Much to her shock, the buxom fallen angel found that she once more hit a log instead of her target. "You know, I think we may have gone off in the wrong foot," stated Naruto as he appeared out of the shadows of the night and began walking towards the still flying fallen angel. "So mind telling me your name, and why you're attacking me?" the shinobi asked while making sure not to let his guard down. "My name is Kalawiner," the fallen angel introduced as she kept flying around the blonde, "and I was merely taking a stroll because of boredom. You devil were just unlucky to meet my path tonight." A yellow spear of holiness appeared in her right hand. "Now stop moving so I can impale you with my lance." She threw the spear once more. This time the blonde shinobi did not even bother replacing himself with a log as he easily moved his body away from the spear's trajectory. "But that will hurt." "That's the plan, stray devil," the woman shouted as she created another spear and attempted to dive bomb the blonde. However, she did not even come close into hitting her target as the blonde carefully parried her initial thrusts with his kunai and avoided her follow-up spear throw that attempted once more to impale the shinobi. "Why, seriously, stop that. If you don't, I'm really going to beat the crap out of you." "A low-class stray devil? Don't kid yourself." Naruto furrowed his brows and clenched his teeth. "What did you call me?" She smirked, flying high above the sky looking down on the devil. "Low-class stray devil?" He may have cheered up, but he was actually still a bit sore about his loss in the hands of Serorg, so calling him a low-class devil really rubbed him off the wrong way. Kalawiner chuckled rather loudly. "Did I hit a nerve, low-class?" she asked as she kept looking down on Naruto. "That's it. You decided to fuck with the wrong devil tonight," yelled Naruto, Screw trying to play around and gathering information. This woman was going down. He started channeling chakra around his body, his power levels slowly spiking up. "I'm going to kick your ass first and ask questions later, Databeo." "Hey, I'd like to see you." The blonde devil disappeared from her vision in a burst of speed. 2 feet-shaped cracks were visible on the spot where he stood moments ago. "Try," she managed to mutter out before a fist landed on her left cheek. It was a punch, just a simple punch that sent her crashing from the high heavens where she flew towards the hard surface of the concrete ground. With a loud crash, the pavement cracked under the force of blow which would have probably killed or incapacitated its target. The fallen angel yelped in pain but endured the blow to the best of her capabilities. With all her might, Kalawiner rolled out of the broken pavement just in time to avoid an axe kick courtesy of the devil. The pavement, however, was not lucky as it cracked even further under the might of the blows, sending large debris flying around the area. The fallen angel quickly brought her hands up over her face and chest, protecting herself from several large chunks of earth that pelted her voluptuous frame. However, before the hail of deadly rocks could even end, Kalawiner was already sent skidding away as a fierce kick courtesy of the shinobi landed upon her guard. She gritted her teeth. Her arms hurt like hell. They were sore, but she knew that at least it was still functional. The fallen angel extended her left hand to the side, conjuring another spear of holy light. With her wings flapping ever so fiercely, she shot herself from the ground and once more flew high above the shinobi. Blue eyes focused upon the airborne fallen angel. "There," the teen whispered as he tossed 2 kunais at the fallen angel. Kalawiner saw the 2 projectile coming from miles away. With a shifting of her body, she was able to evade the first blade, and with a sway of her spear, she was able to parry away the other. The fallen angel gazed upon her target before throwing the spear in her hand towards the shinobi. Predictably, her lance was once more easily evaded by what she thought was a low-class stray devil. She gulped. A feeling of dread quickly coursed through the Calawarner. Any feeling of arrogance, superiority, and confidence that she may have had going into this battle was washed away as one single idea formed in the recess of her minds. She may have bitten off more than she could chew. With a burst of speed that she could barely comprehend, the blonde vanished from her vision. Although, still not used with dealing with his speed, the fallen angel succeeded in bringing up her guard to block the blonde's fierce blitz. This time his fist missed its intended target in her chest and instead landed on her right shoulder. Boom! She heard the teen whisper before she was blown back a few meters away by the sheer force of the blow. A loud audible crack echoed in the area, assuring the two combatants that the blonde broke something with his punch. It took all that she could to not scream out in pain. She could feel several of her shoulder's bones were already broken from just getting hit, causing her right arm to hang uselessly to her side, further handicapping her from this fight. It was clear who was going to win. Clicking her tongue, the fallen angel quickly formed another spear with her better hand. If she was going to get killed, then it was better if she went down fighting. Taking aim, she threw her spear once more, and much to her surprise, the teen did not evade this time, but rather he parried it away with a kunai. Her mystical spear that embodied her holy powers could not even destroy a simple knife made of some kind of metal. Whoosh! The small metal knife sailed through the air, missing the fallen angel by a large margin as it planted itself far behind her. "Your aim sucks," Calawarner couldn't help but mutter out. "Says the angel who can't hit a little lowly devil such as myself with one of your oversized shiny holy dildos," replied Naruto in a rather offhanded manner. The fallen angel had the decency to blush upon hearing his rather crude words. "You dare to mock me, you devil?" Another spear formed in her working hand. "Good comeback, really original," exclaimed the blonde as he was replaced by Log that took the deathblow in his place. "Where the hell is all these logs coming from?" yelled the fallen angel, who was at her wit's end. "There are logs everywhere, you just need to look for them." Let it be known, since his life and death encounter with the deadly Nu, the Uzumaki made it his priority to master the Kawarimi no Jutsu, substitution technique. Another kunai dropped from the blonde's sleeve, this one he tossed on the ground just a few feet in front of him. "Oh, and by the way," he smirked while his hands blurred through several hand seals. "It wasn't as like he hasn't learned any other jutsu over the course of the last 4 years. It was actually the opposite, since he learned several jutsus, and made some of his own with the help of the people residing in his Mindscape. When they were not fighting, that is. Really, whoever those two really were, they've been really helpful over the years." "What was that word? That's it." He grinned. "Checkmate." "Huh. Right, Mitsumata Denko, lightning release, three-pronged lightning," exclaimed Naruto as bluish sparks of lightning appeared on the kunai stab on the ground in front of the blonde, along with 2 other kunais which were embedded on the ground behind the fallen angel. Unknown to Calawarner, she was stuck right in the middle of a triangle created by the 3 steel blades. Before she could even comprehend what the blonde was planning, the fallen angel was already screaming out in pain as lightning coming from the steel blades, which acted like a lightning rod, assaulted her from 3 different locations. She was shocked for a good 10 seconds before the lightning coming from the kunais ceased. Calawarner fell on one knee almost immediately after attack. Her clothes were torn, her skin slightly burned and singed. She could feel every nerve of her body shouting at her in intense pain. She couldn't even feel the very wings she was so proud of, as it was badly burned by the attack. Ughai, retaining consciousness despite taking on the full brunt of the blonde shinobi's assault, the fallen angel heavily panted as she glared at a smiling Naruto. "You're definitely more durable than you look. I have to give you props for that." With another burst of speed, the blonde shinobi appeared in front of the Calawarner, smashing his right knee up towards her in the gut, making her entire upper body jerk upwards. The teen's left hand then lashed out, grabbing the fallen angel by her head before she could react. "Now then, I need you to come with me for some questioning, but since I know you're going to struggle until the end, then I'm going to have to knock you out." Wisps of blue chirping lightning started appearing around his left hand. This might hurt a bit. This was one of the few techniques he developed by himself over the past few years. His own version of the jutsu that pierced him through the heart, but rather than piercing this jutsu was focused on just grabbing the enemy and electrocuting them to death. Not that he was going to use it by its full power, since he needed her alive after all. "Right, Rakurai, lightning strike," the blonde whispered as the bluish sparks surrounding his hands became even more concentrated. The sounds of 100 birds chirping about could be heard from afar as electricity channeled through Calawarner's pain coursed through the fallen angel's system. Her eyes slowly rolled to the back of her head while drool fell from the side of her mouth before an overall sense of numbness began kicking in her body as her world slowly turned black. Eventually Naruto released her hold on the woman's body, letting her fall down on the ground unconscious. Someone's going to have one massive headache when they wake up. The devil then looked at the woman's down form. But I think I might have gone a little overboard. The shinobi from Konoha suddenly chuckled. Well, it's nothing Rias-chan or Sato-chan can fix. He walked towards the fallen angel's body before bending his knees and extending an arm to grab his would-be prisoner. Now to get some answers as to why you're hanging out in our turf. The blonde sighed as he detected another spike of killing intent in the area, this one more malicious than the one belonging to his already fallen foe. Oh, for God's sake, he cursed out, ignoring the pain coursing through his body as he quickly grabbed the woman's fainted form before using Kawarimi no Jutsu, substitution technique. Smash. This time a spear of blue light pierced through another log. The blonde flipped through the air, landing atop a nearby lamppost as he held the unconscious Calawarner in his hands. Another dildo, this time blue, his eyes narrowed on the spot the spear hit. It was thrown an angle that would have killed both him and the unconscious fallen angel in his hands if it hit. Turning his head towards the direction from which the spear was thrown, the blonde shinobi saw another fallen angel flying in the sky. This one looking like a middle-aged man with short black hair, wearing a violet trench coat over a white shirt, which was topped off by a black fedora. How fortunate of me! To bump into someone strong in a place like this. I was only here to see what the bitch was doing, but who knew I'd find a gem worthy for battle here. The fallen angel stared at the devil with a rather crazed expression on his face. My name is Dohnaseek. Fight me! Naruto jumped down from the lamppost and landed on the ground with a barely audible thud. He knelt, gently placing the unconscious Calawarner against the post before quickly turning around and lashing his leg out to kick another light spear that threatened to kill both him and Calawarner. Oi, what the hell was that for? You could have hit her. She was weak and insignificant. Her death would have not meant anything. What was that? Naruto asked as he glared at Dohnaseek. I said she was weak. I don't care if she dies. To emphasize his point, the man created and tossed another spear at the unconscious Calawarner. Responding quickly, the blonde shinobi managed to grab onto the spear. He winced almost immediately as he felt the palms of his hands burn as it came into contact with the holy object. Ignoring the pain, the teen tossed the spear away, causing it to dissipate into the air. A devil looking out for a fallen angel? Ha 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 ha, I'd never think I'd live to see this day. The sharply dressed gentleman roared out in a bellow of laughters. Being one who believed in the words of his old sensei Kakashi, Naruto couldn't help but feel pissed at the fallen angel's actions. Those who abandon their friends and comrades are lower than scum. Naruto whispered as one thought came to mind, this guy was definitely going down. Friends? I don't care about those. She was weak. Now I'm like her, you on the other hand look strong, so fight me seriously, you stray. The male fallen angel laughed out manically as a single blue spear formed within his hands before he dove from the sky and charged at the shinobi. If he wanted to fight, then he'd get one. Just not the one that he would have expected. Naruto inwardly smirked. Time to play with the jackass. What the hell is all with you fallen angels thinking I'm a stray devil? Naruto asked in a rather mocking tone as he quickly ran towards the fallen angel. Another kunai dropped from his right sleeve into the firm grip of his right hand. Shing. Sparks flew into the air as the shinobi's simple knife clashed against the holy spear as both combatants pushed against the other, creating a short struggle for dominance, as the two pushed their strengths into their respective blows, hoping to force the other to yield. Dohnaseek was the first to relent. The fedora-wearing man quickly pulled his spear back before thrusting it with renewed speed, strength, and ferocity towards the shinobi. The fallen angel Dohnaseek's was fast, faster than a regular human or shinobi, but to him, to his eyes who had dealt with stronger and faster opponents, it was as if the fallen angel moved in slow motion. Taking one step to his right, the blonde avoided the first thrust. Swaying his body even further away, he managed to evade the second blow. Tilting his head to the left allowed him to dodge the third attack aimed for his head. Ducking down by bending his knees, he avoided getting mowed down by the shaft of the spear. From his lowered position, the shinobi sprang upwards with his kunai firmly gripped in hand. Slash. With one swift motion of his hand, he brought his kunai upon the fallen angel's face, slicing the man vertically from his cheek towards eye. However, before the kunai could pass through and damage his eyes, the black-winged fallen angel jumped back and flew up in the air. Drip. A single line of blood fell down the angel's face. Normally a person would be pissed or terrified upon the sight of someone easily wounding their face, but that was not the case for Dohnaseek, for instead of looking afraid or angry, the man was smiling brightly. Yes, a cruel, sadistic, or rather masochistic smile that was almost perverse and orgasmic in nature. Definitely an expression fitting a battle maniac such as himself. Looking down on the shinobi, the fallen angel let out a roar of laughter as one tiny speck of blood fell from his cheek. Drop. A barely audible echo of the small droplet hitting the ground served as a signal for the two to resume their battle. Wings about flapping wildly, the fallen angel descended from the heavens. Dohnaseek's blue spear shined an even holier hue of blue, signifying an increase in its power before he thrusted his spear rapidly towards the shinobi. Shing shing shing. Hands almost blurring in speed, the blonde shinobi parried the increasingly overwhelming attack. From below it looked as if a rain of holy blue water poured down upon him. Not wanting to get overwhelmed, the blonde shinobi channeled chakra to the soles of his feet before jumping back, away from the rain of inevitable holy death. As he jumped away, the blonde shinobi's free hand reached for the pockets of his pants and pulled out 4 shurikens that he carefully hid in his uniform. Stupid human world anti-weaponry laws. Lashing his arm, the shinobi threw all 4 projectiles with great precision towards Dohnaseek. Whoosh! The 4 shurikens cut through the air as they approached fallen angel. You think using only 4 of those is enough to defeat me? The dandy-looking man asked while he prepared himself to parry the attack. Then try this. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique, shouted Naruto. Seconds after those words left his mouth, what was once 4 measly shurikens suddenly turned into a myriad of deadly spinning metallic stars numbering at least 40. Rather than be shocked at his sudden plight, the fallen angels instead grinned, while he spun his holy spear in front of him, while also waving wish wings in a rather fierce way to block or blow away the deadly spinning stars. That's what I'm talking about, Stray. The fallen angel blocked the last shuriken before he came charging in once more, trying to impale Naruto with a thrust of his holy spear. Smash! Another log covered was impaled and destroyed by the holy spear. Dohnaseek's eyebrows furrowed in frustration. What the hell is up with all these logs interrupting my battle? Naruto appeared behind the fallen angel, fist pulled back. Don't diss the log, muttered the blonde as he threw a single punch aimed to the face. However, instead of hitting his target, the fallen angel managed to grab him by his sleeve of his offending limb. Twisting his body to the side, Dohnaseek tossed the shinobi up in the air. I win! The man shouted as he threw his spear towards the airborne blonde in an attempt to gore him and end this battle. No, you don't, was the simple yet snark reply of the devil. Before the spear could even reach him, a single clone appeared by Naruto's side, grabbing the original. The clone then threw Naruto away from the spear's path, taking the killing blow in his place. Twirling the single kunai that was still in his hand, Naruto took aim and threw it, aiming for the disarmed fallen angel chest. Dohnaseek smirked as another spear of light appeared in his hand. Clang! With a powerful swing, he not only blocked the projectile but utterly destroyed and smashed it to pieces. Ha 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 ha, finally got rid of that thing, said the sharply dressed fallen angel while he laughed from the top of his lungs. Now time to kill you! Wings waving fiercely, the fallen angel soared up in the sky before charging like a mad bull towards the shinobi. Naruto internally shook his head towards his opponent's single-minded and easily predictable attacks. Then again, he was not one to talk, since he was basically the same in a sense that he just relied on his clones and Rasengan until a few years ago. Like a skilled and experienced matador, the blonde shinobi easily stepped to the side to avoid Dohnaseek. So why do you guys keep calling me Stray? Naruto asked, as if the two of them weren't fighting to the death. I mean, is it because I dress this way? He pointed at his attire. Dodge. Is it because I'm wearing orange? Another kunai made from hell slipped from the shinobi's right sleeve. Holding the kunai in a backhand grip, the shinobi clashed it against the spear once more, making more sparks fly out in the air. Clang. You know, I've been a devil for about 4 years, and all the stray devils I've seen were boob-flashing monsters. Carefully watching the fallen angel, the blonde shinobi timed one of Dohnaseek's charges perfectly. Slightly extending his elbow to the side, the devil managed to smash his elbow on the fallen angel's face, forcing the man to stop his assault and take a few steps back while holding his bloody nose. Naruto shook his head and shrugged his shoulders exaggeratedly. Hell, I've never even seen or heard about a male stray devil before. Dohnaseek glared at the shinobi. Take this seriously, he cried out before tossing his spear again. Wow, this was getting way repetitive. Smash. His spear pierced another log, which saved the blonde from imminent death. So why the hell did you people think I'm a stray? Naruto asked as he appeared a few steps just left of the broken shards of his wooden savior. Gritting his teeth in frustration, the fallen angel Dohnaseek roared out a great battle cry that echoed within the expanse of the night. Blue holy spear glowing almost ominously, the angel pointed the tip towards the blonde before rapidly thrusting it forward. Streams of blue entered the shinobi's vision. It was fast, definitely faster than before, but it was still too slow. Beowulf was definitely insanely faster than this. Sarord was faster than this. Hell, even Kiba was faster than this. Yes, to the shinobi, the fallen angel's assault was just too slow, Naruto muttered silently as he carefully dodged each blow by a hair's breadth. Come on, man, tell me why you guys keep saying I'm a stray devil? If you tell me, then I won't kill you, but rather I'll just beat you to an inch of your life for trying to kill your comrade in front of me. Deal? Speaking of Dohnaseek's comrades, from the side of his vision, Naruto spotted another fallen angel, a blonde-haired girl wearing a gothic Lolita outfit. At first he was expecting her to join the fray and help the older-looking fallen angel in the battle, but to his surprise the blonde fallen angel grabbed the collapsed Caliwarner before quickly escaping the scene. He clicked his tongue. God damn it, she got away. He cursed once more, ignoring the great pain inflicted upon him as punishment for mentioning the name of God while also dodging the furious assault of the fallen angel. Damned girl just grabbed his hostage. Wait. Hostage wasn't the right word since it made it sound like he was the bad guy. Then again, he was a devil, so. Naruto instinctively swayed his body to the left in order to evade a thrust aimed for his heart. Oh yeah, no time to ponder on that thought, back to the situation at hand. Back to making fun of the battle maniac. Why are all you fallen angels so rude? I've asked like 10 questions and I still got no answers. I mean, can't any of you answer a question without flinging a spear or attacking someone? Growling growled Dohnaseek as he attacked the blonde yet again as a trickle of blood yelled from both his nose and the cut near his eye. Hi-ya! He roared out as he tried to mow down the blonde by using the entire length of his spear. The blue-eyed shinobi ducked down to avoid the entirety of the attack, like that. See, it's really rude. I mean, are all of you like these to devils? Or is it just me? He asked. Dohnaseek brought the spear up and smashed it down towards the blonde, only to find the teen has already rolled to the side, causing him to miss completely and hit the pavement. So I guess it's me. Naruto scratched the back of his head as he stood up. If so, then damn, that sucks since female fallen angels are smoking hot. That much I can agree with you, since those whores' bodies were made to tempt men, exclaimed Dohnaseek as he kept up his assault while trying his best not to get frustrated over the shinobi's words. Stupid, annoying blonde devil. Again the fallen angel fiercely swiped his spear. The shinobi ducked to avoid an overhead swipe of the spear. Placing his hand on the ground, the shinobi attempted a sweep, only for the fallen angel to quickly fly above the shinobi. Pointing his spear down to the earth once more, Dohnaseek let out another flurry of blows synonymous to a rain of blue death. Shing 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 shing. With his kunai held firmly in a reverse grip, the blonde redirected and parried each thrust. Damn, whatever type of metal it is they use to make his kunais are really as sturdy as hell. Note to self, order more of kunais, the shinobi thought. So mind telling me the answer, chop chop? Oh, and while you're at it, can you tell me what the fuck you're doing here? Asked the blonde as he kept parrying the man's attacks. I don't see your master around. I don't feel your master around. That's why I think you're stray. As to why I'm here, it's none of your business, stray. Now are you satisfied? Now fight me seriously, roared the fallen angel, his attacks getting even fiercer. You think I'm a stray devil because I'm not near my master? Well then, by that logic, every devil who are not in the presence of their masters are strays. Naruto's blue eyes gazed at the fallen angel's frame. By now he was properly adjusted with the timing, force, and speed of each the man's blows. It was time to end this soon. Naruto laughed. Is that it, man? I mean, come on, are you fallen angels one-trick ponies who rely on your oversized diddlos for attack? Hell, I'm confident that if I wasn't a devil I would have still been strong enough to beat you. Actually, I'll just stop talking and let my attacks do the talking for me. The blonde devil took a deep breath while slightly bending his knees and leaning towards the slightly seething and panting Dohnaseek. The man was in his range. Ikuzo, let's go, the shinobi smirked before he suddenly kicked off the ground and jumped high up into the air, catching the fallen angel in surprise as the man did not even think of the possibility that the shinobi would jump from such a great distance. Dohnaseek greatly paid for his mistake when the soles of Naruto's feet met the fallen angel's liver, which elicited a loud shout of pain from the battle maniac before he was shot towards the ground. However, it did not end there, as upon contacting the earth the fallen angel's body bounced off the ground high enough to allow Naruto, who landed behind the fallen angel, to firmly plant himself on the pavement, allowing the blonde shinobi to deliver a particularly devastating shoulder check upon the Dohnaseek's chest. Crash. The fallen angel's back smashed against a nearby concrete wall, his body drooping forward. Not relenting his assault, the blonde shinobi quickly grabbed Dohnaseek by the top of his head before slamming him down towards the pavement, creating a small crater underneath the man's head. "Oh, and before I forget," whispered Naruto, hand still placed upon the older man's head. "I'm not a stray devil." Bluish-white sparks of electricity started generating in the palms of his hand. "I'm a shinobi serving under the Gremry family." More electricity began building up within the blonde's palm. He was only moments away from releasing several thousand bolts of electricity through the dandy manshed when the man started laughing. "Gremry? If that's so, then there's no need to hold back," the man roared out as his tainted holy power started to spike up even higher. Almost immediately Naruto's eyes widened, realizing that something was amiss. Abandoning his planned attack, the shinobi quickly released his hold on the stray devil before jumped back, distancing himself from the still madly laughing Dohnaseek. "This is the power granted to me by my lord," the man shouted as his power spiked even further. By then the blonde caught on what was the source of the fallen angel's newfound power. Instead of 2, there were 4 black wings on the man's back. The fallen angel then attacked. Whoosh! In a span of seconds, a storm of feathers from his 4 wings came flying towards the shinobi. A storm of black feathers that were more akin to sharp black daggers that soared and sliced through the air. "Okay, this is new," muttered the blonde shinobi as quickly he jumped back and crossed his arms across his chest and head while curling his knees towards his stomach, effectively defending most of his vital areas. Shing, shing, shing! Several of the piercing deadly blades pelted against his body, eliciting a loud clanking sound to echo about in the air. Just like a passing storm, the wave of black feathers left about destruction in its wake as the very ground that surrounded the blonde was utterly devastated. Nearby walls were cracked, several lamp posts were destroyed. There were large gashes scarred the earthen concrete, tearing it apart like it was paper. If it was not for the barrier placed onto the battlefield by the fallen angels, then it would be sure that the entire neighborhood would be in chaos upon the sounds of the battle. The feather storm eventually receded, revealing the blonde shinobi unto the world. There were no visible wounds upon his body, but his clothes on the other hand were torn rather badly. Both his pants and the sleeves of his blazer were almost non-existent at the point. The shinobi really had thank God insert intense heavenly induced shock that he was so durable, otherwise he'd look like a pincushion. Wahahaha. What a catch, what a catch. Here I thought you were just some insignificant stray devil, an easy prey, but now I find out that you're a servant belonging to one of the 72 pillars. From the Gremry family, no less. The man roared out, his voice in disturbing ecstasy. Raising his hand, 2 large blue light spears formed behind Dohnaseek. "I don't care anymore. If my action starts a war, then so be it. I know many of my kind would be happy to resume conflict." The 2 large spears then fell from the sky. Eyes wide, the shinobi quickly channeled his chakra towards the sole of his feet. Kicking off the ground, the blonde dashed away from the 2 spears, only to find out that the 2 were thrown for the sake of distraction, as he found himself assailed yet again by several dark feather blades. Holding his ground, the shinobi crossed his arms around his chest, defending himself from the agony of being pelted by 100 sharp feathers. Not that they were strong enough to penetrate his defenses. Indeed, the fallen angel's power sharply rose, but it was still far from even reaching the level of power where the blonde and many others currently stood. At the moment, Dohnaseek only stood around the same level as the blonde's friends, so and by any means he should not get cocky by just landing a surprise blow on the shinobi. "Wahaha, where is your log now?" The fallen angel kept laughing sinisterly while the shinobi froze upon realizing that 1 sharp feather passed through his guard. 1 feather that stabbed itself through his chest. 1 feather that embedded itself upon the treasure that he was hiding beneath his jacket. Crack. Naruto's jaw dropped, his eyes widened while his pupils dilated. The shinobi stared down on the single feather, as dread and fear formed in the pit of his stomach. The shinobi plucked the feather out, and to confirm his fears, the shinobi found that his CD was shattered to pieces. Limited edition collectible CD ruined. Playtime was officially over. "It's time to draw first blood in this upcoming war," Dohnaseek proclaimed, completely oblivious to the blonde's plight. "You will be but the first of many to fall," yelled the older man as a single large spear appeared in his hand. The shinobi just kept looking at the small gash in his chest. His normally blue eyes were ominously shadowed by his hair. 4 fluttering wings were ignored as it released more feathers. "With my new power, there is no way you can defeat me. Die, servant of Gremry," boldly proclaimed the fallen angel as he charged towards the still silent blonde. You, the teen whispered as he ignored the fallen angel's babblings and evaded the thrust of the man's spear. The teen then stomped on the ground with such force that it created a small shockwave which blew away not only the offending feathers but also Dohnaseek, who was attempting to stab the blonde. You, the blonde's killing intent spiked up along with his chakra, and a small amount of his crimson malice filled Yuki. You broke my CD! He yelled out as he pointed an accusing finger on the still airborne blood-lusted fallen angel. So? The fallen angel dive-bombed at the shinobi with the tip of his spear pointing at the shinobi's stomach. You are dead, Databao! Yelled Naruto as he swayed his upper body away from the attack's path. He then lashed his legs and kicked one of the fallen angel's wings, causing Dohnaseek to momentarily flinch. Using this to his advantage, the shinobi quickly closed the distance and punched the sharply dressed man in the stomach. Ugh, hi! The man grunted in pain before another fist soon met his face, which sent him crashing through a nearby lamppost. Channeling chakra to his feet, Naruto kicked off the ground and charged towards the wreckage. However, before he could even attack, the shinobi was forced to jump back and dodge as several light spears along with the now broken lamppost were thrown at him by Dohnaseek. You said I can't defeat you, right? The shinobi snickered as he methodically avoided several more spears being thrown at him by the fallen angel. It was no use. By now his own eyes were already well adjusted to the new strength and speed of Dohnaseek's new attacks. You have no idea how many people I've fought told me that. With a puff of smoke, 2 kunais appeared in each of the blonde's hand. With a quick flick of his wrists, he threw both blades at the fallen angel. Whoosh whoosh. Both blades passed through all of the fallen angel's wings, missing their targets almost entirely. Huh, what was that? Your aim sucks! Shouted Dohnaseek as 2 large blue spears materialized above him. It's about time I end this. Choosing to ignore the fallen angel's comment, the blonde just grinned as he continued his on with his words. But do you know what I did to them every time they mouthed off like that? He extended his left hand to his side while devilish bat-like wings snapped out of his back for the first time in the battle. The blonde shinobi then propelled himself from the ground and flew towards the fallen angel with newfound speed. It then happened in a flash. A puff of smoke surrounded the 2 kunais that were thrown, revealing themselves to be transformed clones of the blonde shinobi. Smirking, both clones simultaneously waved one of their arms towards the fallen angel's wings. Futon, Kazakiri. Wind release, wind cutter, the 2 announced as a violent arc of destructive wind was expelled from their limbs. Having been caught off guard, the fallen angel shouted out in extreme pain as he felt all of his wings being torn, slashed, and shredded apart. Dohnaseek hurriedly looked back to his wings, unconsciously committing a grave mistake that a battle maniac like him should surely know. He took his eyes off his opponents. Before he could even look back at the devil, it was already too late. A compressed sphere of pure power that formed on top of the blonde's left palm was rammed through Dohnaseek's stomach. I kicked their asses! Shouted the blonde devil as he pushed the sphere with one hand, grinding it further towards the fallen angel's body. Rasengan! Spiraling sphere, the teen announced with a loud shout as Dohnaseek's body was launched backwards, soaring through the air until he eventually fell and crashed rather violently towards the shattered and broken concrete road. The roles has been reversed. The blonde devil, who opted to stay on the ground, was now soaring high above the sky, looking down on the gravely wounded fallen angel who kept to the sky. Naruto slowly descended down towards the collapsed figure of the fallen angel. Even from high above the heavens, the blonde shinobi could see the spiral mark of his attack engraved upon the fallen angel's stomach, along with the sight of at least 3 of Dohnaseek's wings, which were badly torn and bleeding courtesy of the blonde's blades of wind, while the last remaining wing was bent unnaturally. Landing on the ground, the shinobi heard a cough coming from Dohnaseek. "Don't!" cried out the fallen angel as blood spilled out of his mouth due to ruptured organs in his body caused by the Rasengan. "Kill me! Now you beg to live?" Naruto shook his head disapprovingly while his 2 bat-like wings began fluttering about menacingly. "You know I've killed others before you, some of them not even deserving of death." The shinobi took a deep breath, his expression morphed into one of pure seriousness. "So tell me, do you really think I'd feel remorse in killing a battle-hungry fallen angel like you who doesn't care about their comrades and attacks others without good reason? My broken CD aside, you're a fallen angel who'd willingly start a war that can kill thousands from all 3 factions just for the sake of your own twisted happiness." He glared at the fallen devil with cold blue eyes that brought fear into the battle-crazed devil's very existence. "If I kill you, I'd actually do the world a favor." You monster!" Dohnaseek coughed out as he desperately molded one last light spear with all his might. "If I'll die, I'm taking you with me," he shouted as he tried to stab the blonde with the spear. But much to his surprise, the blonde caught his holy spear by its shaft and pulled away from the fallen angel's grip. I'm not a monster. Despite the spear burning his hands, the young shinobi spun it around and pointed its sharp head over the shocked Dohnaseek's heart. I'm a devil to Bayo, exclaimed Naruto Uzumaki as he gripped firmly into the sacred weapon before he used it to stab Dohnaseek through the chest, impaling the man's heart with his own holy spear. The fallen angel known as Dohnaseek bled out and passed away within the span of a few seconds. He died with an expression of pure unadulterated fear and agony etched on his face upon seeing the visage of his demonic killer standing before him. With his death, the barrier that surrounded the area faded, revealing the scarred and destroyed streets towards the normal world. That was definitely going out of his wallet. Sighing, Naruto took one last glance on the dead body before closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. Did he feel remorse for taking a life? Of course he felt remorse. It was inherently part of his nature to feel that emotion. But there are just times when he needs to steel his heart and do what he had to do. This was one of those moments. Naruto exhaled, breathing out warm air in contrast to cool temperature. The teen then opened his eyes and found nothing left of the fallen angel, whose body turned into ashes which were then carried off by the wind. There goes getting any information from that guy, he whispered as he reached for the now broken CD beneath his blazer. Damn, I was really looking forward to watching this, he whispered rather defectively before throwing the useless piece of junk away. Normally he would be happy about defeating such a bloodthirst foe and ridding the world of more psychopaths, but he knew that it was still far from over. He could still feel another fallen angel nearby. This one felt more powerful than the three, including the one that took Calwarner, he had the pleasure of encountering. So many crows flying in the sky tonight, he muttered while turning towards the direction of the last presence. What the hell is going on here? Stated the teen before he disappeared in another burst of speed, leaving nothing but a cloud of dust in his wake, replacing his CD can wait later. A pledge to my king. Several minutes of running underneath the night sky and following the presence of the fallen angel brought one Naruto Uzumaki in the midst of a relatively abandoned park. There wasn't really anything special about this park, rather to equate it with the word special is an insult, as it was relatively plain beyond all belief. There were plants, benches, a small fountain, making it look like most other parks in the area. It would be by all definition normal if not for the fading feeling of malice that surrounded the area, along with the heavy and thick scent of blood and iron that lingered ever so steadily in the air. At first his eyes darted towards the source of the malice, but found only a small amount of it remaining, along with a trail of feathers possibly belonging to the fallen angel he had felt earlier. A pained grunt echoed ever so weakly, grabbing the shinobi's attention. The shinobi from Konoha's head moved almost mechanically towards the source of the noise, which incidentally was also the source of the heavy metallic scent. Naruto Uzumaki froze upon seeing a familiar teen. A teen who was often one among the many people that constantly chased after him while spewing out various curses and death threats. It was the very same teen he screamed at a few days ago. Yes, lying there on the cemented ground soaked in a pool of his own blood, with spear of pure red light impaling him through his stomach, was none other than the dying pervert known as Issei. Well shit. Since time immemorial, death has always been a part of a shinobi's life. That much was an undeniable truth. Being a shinobi himself, Naruto Uzumaki has seen and caused many deaths over the course of his 12 years of life in the land of the elements. At a tender age of 5, Naruto already experienced the violent bloodshed of the shinobi world when he bore witness to several Umbu committing the act of murder upon several chunin that tried to kill his younger self. 7 years after that he committed his first kill, albeit unintentionally, in the form of him pummeling Mizuki to death with hundreds of clones. From there on, Naruto witnessed several other deaths. Sometimes they were insignificant, and the deaths barely affected him, like the times his old team exterminated bandits, or the deaths of the enemy needs he saw during the invasion of Konoha. Though there were also times that he witnessed deaths which molded him into becoming who he was today. For example, it was because of the death of both Haku and Zabuza that he was able to form his own Nindo, to never go back on his words and to never give up. Yes, for better or worse, death was definitely a part of a shinobi's life. In the end, one Naruto Uzumaki Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune and former shinobi of Konoha should have already been well versed and used to the subject of death. Unfortunately, for all its worth, his skills, abilities, and built-up experience were all concentrated on the sole idea of ending lives rather than the art of healing and prolonging life. His inability to heal others brings us to the situation at hand. It was still in the middle of the night. The moon was shining dimly in between the cracks among the vast expanse of the dark clouds in the sky. What little of the moonlight that seeped through the clouds emanated in a small park, basking in all its dim glory, a simple scene wherein 2 teens were present. The first was the shinobi turned devil Naruto Uzumaki, and the second was none other than the dying pervert Issei Hayate. Oh shit, what do I do, Databeo? Naruto stammered out. To say Naruto was panicking was a gross understatement, as the shinobi ran around in circles, creating a trail of dust along with slight cracks upon the earth, as he ran in circles around the still bleeding body of Issei Hayate. Should I leave? Naruto quickly shook his head before shooting down his own idea. No, I can't leave him alone here. He clicked his tongue. How the hell could I know that he was really going to get stabbed in the stomach? Shit, I can't help but think this is somehow my fault. Nah, it couldn't be, that would be just too convenient. Yeah, it's not like an interdimensional god finds pleasure in putting his life through insane levels of hell. Ugh, hell help. Issei managed to mutter out in between his pained coughs that drew blood. He stopped walking and quickly knelt beside the injured pervert. "Ay, good, you're alive. Thank God. Phew, you're alive." Before he could even realize what he just said, yet again an extremely intense shock of divine power coursed through his body, bringing forth an unimaginable pain that would have made many of his kin pass out. Ouch. God damn it, this isn't the time to be shocking me. He roared out to the heavens, who responded by shocking him one more to a point that he was comically covered in sooth. Ugh, this was the first time an actual lightning bolt descended from the heavens and pelted him. Fuck me, the shinobi cursed as he looked up towards the sky once more and waved his fists in a rather threatening manner. I'm going to kick your ass one day for always shocking me, Databeo. Ugh. Naruto's eyes widened when it soon dawned upon him that he had more important matters to attend to. Oh yeah. The pervert Naruto's eyes landed on the red spear of light that impaled the brown-haired boy. Should I pull it out? He thought before quickly dismissing the idea. No, it might make him bleed out faster. Naruto scratched the back of his head in frustration as idea after idea popped inside his mind. Should I infuse him with some of Kurama's chakra? No, that's just stupid, since Abiju's chakra is corrosive and poisonous to others and by all means shouldn't be transferred to another person. Hell, it disintegrates my skin when I go over my limit. He shook his head as he threw that plan out of the window. I mean, what kind of idiot would do an ass pull like that, Databeo? It was in the midst of his panicking did the blonde suddenly tense up as he felt something emanating from the dying teen. He sensed it, a foreign power on par or even greater than that of his tenant seeping out of the teen's body. What the hell? Naruto muttered out as he closed his eyes and placed his left hand on Issei's body while trying to focus on the source of energy. He was by no means a sensor, but his ability to sense energy and life forces greatly improved when he became a devil. Not even a second after closing his eyes, Naruto felt as if a great being was watching him, staring at his very existence. This foreign energy, it felt vaguely familiar. It was as if he felt something similar to this once in the past. What is this? It's so powerful, he whispered as he opened his eyes. Looking closely to the bleeding teen, Naruto smiled fondly as he managed to finally calm himself down. So you have something ridiculously strong inside you too, huh? He only got an incomprehensible gurgle as a response from the dying teen. But still, it doesn't look like this power is healing you like the fuzzy but does to me, so that means you're pretty much fucked if I don't find a way to heal you. Add to the fact that I don't know shit about healing jutsu and I don't have my phone with me, so calling the ambulance is out of the question. I also don't have anything that can be used for first aid, so you're really fucked. Furrowing his brows, the shinobi looked around trying to find something he could use to help the dying teen. In all intents and purposes, he should have just left and allowed the teen die, but that just wasn't like him. He'd rue the day that he will allow himself to turn an eye from someone who needed help. Eventually, after looking around, Naruto's blue eyes widened as he gazed upon a familiar piece of paper sticking out of Issei's pocket. Wait, that's, he said as a grin quickly formed on his face. Looks like it's your lucky day. He looked directly at the dying teen's half-lidded eyes. Tell me, do you want to live? The badly wounded teen nodded weakly, his vision already wavering, causing him to see nothing but the dazzling sight of spiky golden blonde hair. Good, she's been looking for a pawn for a while and I think she'll be satisfied in having you, Naruto said as he placed the contract in the hands of Issei. Now think about it. One greedy wish before you die. One wish with enough greed to reach her ears. Barely understanding Naruto's word, Issei began muttering out a barely comprehensible string of words. I gurgle wish. Yes. I wish gurgle for. Go on. I wish for a pay, Issei shouted proudly with all his remaining strength before he descended in a chorus of bloodied coughing. As if responding to his will, the contract glowed a mystic hue of red. A large magical circle bearing the crest of the House of Gremory appeared out of nowhere while expelling an almost blinding amount of light that illuminated the night sky. In a span of seconds, the great light faded away, revealing the form of one Rias Gremory standing ever beautifully amidst the park. Someone with enough greed to summon me, she whispered with a hint of amusement, as her eyes landed upon the two others in the park. Oh? What are you doing here, Naruto-kun? She asked, surprised to see her shinobi in all his deadpan-looking glory here of all places. Then again, he always did manage to get himself into some sort of trouble, so she wasn't that surprised. So what kind of trouble did you get into this time? She couldn't help but asking. The shinobi didn't respond, as his mind was wrecked at the sheer audacity of Issei's dying wish. Naruto-kun? The whiskered blonde blinked as Rias' hand waved in front of his eyes, snapping him out of his thoughts. Well, we can talk about that later. For now, I'm trying to save this guy's life. Naruto answered, a slight deadpan expression on his face as Issei's wish repeatedly echoed in his head. The damn guy was as or even more perverted than Erosenin. Can you tell me what happened to him? He was most likely attacked by a fallen angel, stabbed him through the gut with one of their dildos of light databao. You mean light spears, right? That's what I said. Rias rolled her eyes. Her shinobi really could be crude at times. So why do you want to save his life? She asked as she looked at the still dying Issei, observing the large gaping and most likely fatal wound over the teen's stomach. Why not? He replied. I've already told you before that I can't just reincarnate every dying people I meet. There are limits to what I can do, you remember, right? At most I can reincarnate 16 people into devils so they could join my peerage. Then you could probably spare a pawn for Issei, right? You're not going to back out on this one, are you? Nope. She closed her eyes and let out a defeated sigh. Sometimes being stubborn had its downside. So you want me to revive him as my pawn? Yep, and he doesn't seem to be that useless. Rias' eyes quickly opened as her eyes met that of her shinobi's. What do you mean? She asked. Try going near him, you'll sense what I'm talking about. Doing as she was told, the current heir to the Gremry family took a few steps towards the brunette teen's body. Her eyes widened in shock. Like her shinobi, the devil quickly realized that there was a huge amount of power emanating from deep within the dying human. This is probably one of the sacred gear things you always talk about. Sacred gear, artifacts of the original biblical God bestowed upon humans as part of his miracles on earth. An irregular power that is bestowed to certain humans, most of them becoming people whose names are recorded in history and shall forever be remembered as men among men. She smiled as turned towards her shinobi. You did well on finding him, Naruto. I'll turn him into a devil, she said, feeling proud of her loyal shinobi. Good, we get a new friend with a sacred gear, and the only thing he wants in return is to some pay. Ria's sweat dropped and turned towards her fiend. He wasn't serious, right? Still, she decided to ask. A pay? He wants some big juicy pay. Her eyes narrowed at her shinobi. She knew that the blonde could be rather mischievous at times, and would often go to pranking sprees where no one was safe. Not even her great Mao of an Oni-sama was spared from the blonde's wrath. You're serious, aren't you? She asked as she tried to figure out if her shinobi was just messing with her. Yep. Naruto quickly replied truthfully. So he's a huge pervert, yeah. I guess I'll go revive him then. You do that. Rias sighed as she walked towards Issei. If you are dying, then I'll pick it up. Your life, that is. From now you will live for me. As a part of her peerage, Naruto added, keeping his arms crossed as he watched Rias perform the reincarnation ceremony underneath the moonlight sky. She started out placing one crimson pawn piece on Issei's chest before steadily increasing the numbers until she stopped at 8 to meet the requirements necessary for the brown-haired teen's revival. Naruto smiled as a crimson demonic power surrounded Rias' body. Beautiful, he whispered mostly to himself as he couldn't help but be in awe at the wonderful contrast created by the pale moonlight and the crimson demonic energy which made his king look even more beautiful. I order, in my name Rias Gremry. You, Issei Hayadu. I resurrect you back to this soil as my servant, and have you reborn as a devil. You, my new pawn, be delighted with your new life. The crimson chess piece glowed before sinking inside Issei's body, completing the ritual. Rias stopped channeling demonic her power before turning towards the grinning shinobi. Looks like one pawn wasn't enough. Then I guess he really must be packing something strong inside him, maybe a really special and badass sacred gear. A small smile tugged the side of her lips, secretly delighted that her shinobi hasn't changed that much throughout the years they've known together. It is possible. She started before her eyes trailed towards the unconscious Issei. Naruto-kun, can you do me a favor? No need to ask, I'll take him home. Do you know where he lives? Naruto shrugged. No clue. I'll look at his wallet or something. Thank you. He sent a hearty smile at Rias. Anything for you, my king. Most of the conversation was lost to the still bleeding, barely conscious Issei Hayadu. He didn't even feel it when the blonde shinobi lifted him from the ground and placed him over his shoulder. Although the last thing Issei saw before darkness overwhelmed his senses was the brilliant color of crimson, much like his blood, along with the dazzling sight of gold that stood out despite the darkness. Yes, the two colors which belonged to those who saved his life. The two devils who he shall forever be grateful to. A pledge to my king. A day after the incident with Issei, the members of the occult research club minus Kiba and Kaneko were sitting in the club room. Silence reigned upon the room as Rias found herself in the mental struggle of which piece to move next in her game of chess against a rather bored-looking Naruto. Standing beside the two players was a rather entertained Akino who was serving fresh tea to the two combatants. Noticing that her tea has been refilled, the crimson-haired princess gracefully took the cup before taking a sip of the special blended tea from the house of Citri. After drinking a bit of her tea, Rias placed her cup down and moved one of her knights to take out one of the blonde's pawns. There, she said with a hint of exhaustion. It's your turn, Naruto-kun. As if snapping out of a daydream about ramen, the blonde suddenly stiffened on his seat. Ah, yeah, I guess it is. Sorry about that, I was just thinking of something. Naruto replied as he scratched the back of his head and took a quick look in the chessboard. In all honesty, he wasn't really good in this game, as he just moved the pieces the way he felt was best. Unfortunately or fortunately, two devils found it entertaining to play against Naruto because his play style, which often ranged from simplistic to borderline insane and unpredictable, forced them to their limits and made them think with more flexibility. Naruto's hand moved around the game board, his digits trailing along his remaining pieces. What should I move? He mumbled out before deciding to take out one of Rias's bishop with his last remaining knight, which further pushed a great amount of pressure to Rias. Foo, I don't know if you're a genius or just plain stupid, Ero-kitsune, Akino said, clearly impressed with the blonde's move. He's a closet genius, I just know it, Rias whispered as she took out the offending knight with a nearby rook. I'd rather be an idiot. Naruto didn't really pay attention this time as he used one of his pawns to take out one of Rias's pawns. Oh, why is that? Akino asked while Rias used her bishop to take out one of Naruto's rooks. Being a genius is overrated, Naruto answered while he placed his hand on his only remaining rook and used it to capture Rias's last bishop. Even an idiot can defeat prodigies and genius if they put their all to it. Rias smiled before quickly responding by using her queen to take one of the blonde's bishop, effectively winning her the game. Checkmate. Naruto chuckled upon the announcement of his defeat. Well, I guess I didn't put my all to it today. Foo, I guess you really are an idiot, Ero-kitsune, Akino teased, to which the blonde replied by snickering at her jab. I guess I am. It was a good game. You're still as unpredictable as ever, forcing me to abandon and review my plans several times. Why are you so good at this? She complained as she cupped her chin and began thinking about the previous game. I'm not good, I just move the pieces how I feel like it. Sometimes I get lucky and win, and the other times I bomb the game like this time. I swear to God I only win because you and Sona-chan always think too hard. He mumbled out as again he was shocked by God's wrath. Perhaps, but I want you to know that this is training for both of us, as it helps me become more flexible in forming my strategies, and it also helps you concentrate and think more strategically. She mumbled out as she rearranged her chess pieces, putting them back to their proper places. So do you want to play another round? Sorry, but we've played like 5 games already. I need to go work soon, or Yusukujiji would try to kick my ass again. Foo, it's because you steal ramen from the restaurant. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. Where did you hear about that? Era, were you embarrassed that your boss kicked your butt, or rather blasted your butt? Foo. It was Kiba, wasn't it? It was definitely him. He was the only one who knew about that since we were both working that day. The blonde comically shook his fist in the air. Damn you, Kiba! Why did you betray me? Elsewhere at the same time, Kiba, who was training with Kaneko, sneezed. Because you cleaned out his wallet to the point that he was close to filing bankruptcy? Rias pointed out. Oh, come on, it was just a few bowls of ramen. The two sweat dropped at the shinobi's concept of a few bowls. Ero-kitsune, you do know that you ate 150 bowls of ramen, right? Huh, really? His eyes turned to Rias as if asking for confirmation. Sadly, that is true. I thought I ate like 15. Ero-kitsune really is a ramen black hole. Yes, he manages to somehow not gain a single ounce of weight. A disturbing singularity that should be studied for the sake of women, devils, and humanity. Now I don't gain weight because I train, I'm awesome, and I'm badass databeo. He chuckled for a few seconds. As his laughter eventually faded away, the teen's eyes landed on Rias. The mood was already light. It was probably the best moment to ask that's been plaguing his mind during their chess game. So what are we going to do about him? Him? Era is Erokitsune finally coming out of the closet. Don't try to act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Heck, don't even joke about that. Databeo. Naruto yelled as he recalled the events of several men chasing after him while proclaiming their love for him. A shiver ran down his spine. That event still haunts him in his dreams to no end. Foo, but you're so fun to tease. Rias sighed. She hoped to avoid this conversation for now because she had a good idea why her servant was bringing this up. Seeing no point to delay any further, the buxom young woman exclaimed. Akino, you know who he's talking about. Issei Hayadu, second-year student, average grades, doesn't excel anything, an otaku, and is also one of the infamous perverted trio of Ko Academy. Two great ladies, two great gentlemen, perverted trio, huh? Now that I noticed that people in our school really loves to group people and give them titles but still gentlemen. What the hell is up with that? There's nothing gentleman-like in me. Naruto whispered, hoping no one would pick up on it, but unfortunately a certain queen caught wind of his complaint. Foo, yes, there is nothing gentleman-like about you. I still remember when they were trying to train you in manner and etiquettes in the past. Beowulf-san had to strap you down on a chair, while MacGregor-san kept shocking you with lightning until you learned your table manners. Akino exclaimed, making both her and Rias chuckle at the fond memory of a screaming Naruto. Ugh, don't ever remind me of that. I still can't look at several sets of spoons, forks, and knives without getting the urge to use them as weapons to kill Team Databeo, he growled as he recalled the hell that man put him through. He was so going to kick that man's ass sometime in the future. Internally shaking his head, the blonde blue-eyed teen switched his limited attention span back at the topic at hand. But we're getting off topic here, Rias-chan. What are we going to do about Issei then? We're not going to do anything, for now Issei Hayadu shall be allowed to do as he wants. Are you sure it's fine to just leave him alone, ignorant to the truth? Because that doesn't sit well with me. Rias nodded rather proudly as she tucked her arms beneath her chest. I'm allowing him to live a normal life. Naruto shook his head. No, you're allowing him to enjoy the last days of his normal life. You told me that you used 8 pawn pieces for him, right? That means he must have a pretty strong sacred gear inside him. I think that was the reason he was attacked by fallen angels in the first place. To try and get rid of whatever it is inside him, or whatever they think he is. He whispered the last part so silently that not even the enhanced hearing of the 2 other devils picked it up. The irony of this entire situation was not lost to him, as Issei's situation somewhat mirrored his own. That's surprisingly sharp for you, Erokitsune, but the question is what could have them so scared that they'd willingly infiltrate and attack a territory under the protection of 2 families known to be affiliated to the 4 great Satans themselves? It's really hard to believe that whatever is inside Issei would draw that much attention. Rias cupped her chin in thought before answering her queen's question. I just need to confirm it, but I think he might possess a Longinus. Era, one of the 13 sacred gears that can kill those who reign upon the various heavens. Yes, and since it felt like a dragon, much like Tannen-san, she said, recalling the experience of having met the great dragon through her brother. It is most likely that his sacred gear is either the divine dividing or the boosted gear. 2 Longinus that are said to hold dragons within them. I'm not really sure, and this is all just speculations, but I will have to ask Oniai-sama for more information about those 2 gears. Dragons, Naruto let out an impressed whistle as he heard his king's speculation. He had already heard of Longinus from several devils in the past. Safe to say he was impressed after hearing about the sheer power and audacity these sacred gears could do. It actually made him a bit jealous that he doesn't have a sacred gear, but then again, who needs a sacred gear when he already had fuzzy butt? Foo, but for a pervert to have such power? I fear what he would do with it. Who knows? He might develop an ability to strip girls via magical attack, or even communicate or read women's mind through there. Naruto couldn't deny the possibility of that kind of power being used for perverted means. Come on, he's not that bad, just a bit. He quickly corrected himself, really perverted from what I've seen. Also, he might be a bit spiteful since I've seen him chase after me and those mobs when he wasn't busy peeping or goofing around doing God shock knows what with his 2 friends. The smiling face of a certain self-proclaimed super pervert flashed inside his mind, causing the shinobi to smile rather fondly. Actually, he reminds me of someone I knew in the past. From your old world? Rias couldn't help but ask, since despite the 4 years they'd been together, her shinobi was still a bit privy with information about his world. Naruto nodded. Yeah, he resembles Erosenin, and despite being a self-proclaimed super pervert, that man was probably one of the strongest people I've met in the world. If he actually came to this world, I'd fear for the chastity and safety of every woman in this realm. Oh, is this Erosenin the reason why you're a pervert, Erokitsune? Well, it's really hard to avoid becoming a pervert when you're placed in my shoes. Naruto said as he looked slightly downcast. Oh, and why is that? Where do I start? Here we go. The old man who always looked after me had a habit of reading this perverted orange book. My sensei, the man who taught me a few things about being a ninja, read said perverted orange book in public without a care in the world. My other sensei, or as I call him Erosenin, was the said man who wrote those books. He sighed exasperatedly in an overtly dramatic way. I really had no chance in avoiding the path of the pervert. He muttered out rather despairingly. Fu, so you finally admit that you're a pervert, Erokitsun? Nope, Naruto quickly deadpanned, showing no signs of his earlier troubled persona. It was as if he was faking the entire thing. I'm not a pervert, I'm just a healthy hormonal teenage male with a normal appreciation of the feminine body. Kinda like Kiba. There was reason why he had those special magazines stashed in his rooms, since he had those urges to relieve every now and then. Akino tilted her head to the side while placing on top of her mouth, covering her mischievous smile. Fu like Kiba, huh? So does that mean you're GA? Rias quickly cut her queen off. You know we've gotten off topic here, she said, trying to steer away from the overtly sensitive topic of Yuto's sexual preference. They'll deal with that landmine when the proper time comes. Oh yeah? Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly, sorry about that. He chuckled lightly, so back to Issei. He looked at the other two and got nods of confirmation telling him to continue. I still say we should talk to him sometime today. Era, why is that?